pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. As I say in the meeting, this is the part of the meeting that if you got something that's not on the agenda and you want to bring it up, now's the time to do it. We can't act on it, but we will definitely take it into consideration at a future meeting. Mr. Myers.
I've got a couple things real quick. That's unusual for me.
That doesn't compute. Two things real quick.
First of all, a River Hills update. I'd like for you to keep August 25th on your calendar. That's our dinner. Hopefully, Governor Hogan is going to be our speaker. We've reached out and got some positive response, but no set in the concrete yet. Another River Hills update is that we were selected, how shall I say this? River Hills was selected to be the administrator for RDA, which has worked really well because we're a nonprofit and we represent 4 of the 5 counties. And so that's a big deal for us, for RDA and for River Hills. And we've gotten great service from them so far, and we expect that to continue. The second thing is, from RDA's standpoint, we are having a meeting next Wednesday, a special meeting next Wednesday at Salem at 10 o'clock at the courthouse. I don't know what's going to come down the road on that yet. It's an IEDC are coming down. Now that we've got the $50 million, of which only 47 we can use, we've had methodology that we've used to decide which projects should come in front of us. The game may be changing. I don't know.
So is all those projects still good projects, or are there still some that?
I wish I could say yes, but I will know more. IEDC's coming. We're having an executive session with IEDC before the meeting, so we'll know a little bit more, I hope.
When is that?
We meet at 8:30 for an executive session until 9:45, and then the meeting's at 10 at the courthouse in Washington County. But I want to thank you all for giving me the support for RDA and River Hills. We have really made great strides. Corey Cochran has done a fantastic job of working with the RDA and the project administrators and IEDC. They've told us time and time again, we are the gold standard for the state of Indiana, which makes you feel good because there were 2 or 3 other RDAs already in place, and but I've heard our contact, IEDC, tell us, you guys are doing it the right way. Now that may change after our meeting with our IEDC on next Wednesday, but you are welcome to the open meeting, and we'll know a lot more about what's going on.
What time's that meeting next?
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock?
You can call Phil and tell him he can come too.
You'll probably be there.
But thank you for your support, both River Hills and the RDA. It's a task. Regionalism is a hard sell because everybody thinks they're the most important people in the world, and it just.
And we know we are.
Well, I try to make sure that point's made, but there's four other people, and we're all doing the same thing. We all have our, I guess, pet peeves, but you do have to look farther than your hand, and it's been a very good learning experience for me. I say the future for Southern Indiana is really bright. It is really bright, and a lot of people don't realize, but Scott County, it's really bright for Scott County too, because it just, I hate to say land is cheap, but land is cheap compared to what it is down in Clark and Floyd County.
Yeah.
Well, there's no land left in Floyd County and northern Clark County, but Jefferson and Scott and even Washington County, it's the only way it can grow. So again, thank you, and I'll try to keep you updated. I apologize for not being here, but I apologize for leaving, but I go pick my granddaughters up from Australia.
There you go. All right, well, enjoy.
Thank you all.
All right. Anybody else? All right, Visitors Commission Board appointment. Mr. Mike.
Good evening. Here tonight on behalf of the Visitors Commission to request the appointment of a new board member, Jessica Collins. Jessica is a resident of Austin, Indiana, and is the IHG Brand Regional Manager for the Temec Group, and they are the owners of our Scottsburg Holiday Inn Express and Suites. Jessica Collins will be replacing former Scott County Visitors Commission member and local entrepreneur and hotelier Umang Patel. Mrs. Collins' appointment does meet the requirements outlined by Indiana Code 6-9 and Scott County Ordinance 2003-4-2-B for the appointment. And then I will additionally be talking with Ms. Tammy to get a formal letter of appointment that we will have in our files, just as in case the State Board of Accounts ever asks.
So she's the local manager, general manager?
She used to be the general manager there at the Holiday Inn Express and has been moved up to a regional position.
Okay,
So,
okay, all right. I know you talked about that before, so.
Yep.
Sounds good.
exactly. All righty.
So we need a motion? Or are we doing this?
I don't know if we do. Should we?
Replace, Patel,
Yeah,
yes.
I guess we could.
Yes.
I'll make a motion.
John makes a motion to, I guess Jessica Collins, move Jessica Collins to replace Mr. Patel as a board member on the Visitors Commission.
I'll second that.
Randy seconds that, and I'll make that unanimous, so.
That's just so you have your minutes,
Okay.
so it'll be easier for your minutes.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Do that.
All right.
Anything else?
There was a courtyard beautification that was listed on here.
Yeah.
And I know I talked with Randy a little bit about that. I don't know if you're prepared for tonight or,
I didn't know, just to see where we was at, have we done anything as far as, started any kind of paperwork for, 501(c)(3).
we have not. I thought you were going to visit with the county attorney and find out if that is within his scope of work.
You're right, I was supposed to do that, and it's
That's
something
okay,
I
it's not a
dropped the
big
ball
deal.
on. We're wanting to start a beautification committee, for the square, and we'd like to start a 501(c), so we can take donations for, landscaping.
It takes at least a year to get approved, but it's not something, I don't think that's something that I can do.
I don't know. I just wanted to know if it was within the scope of your contract or with the county and the commissioners.
For the county to create, I mean, I don't know that the county can,
That I don't know.
I don't know.
So have we talked, Randy, have you talked with City of Scottsburg, how they created their beautification committee? I mean, is it a 501(c), or is it just
It is.
or is it just a committee?
You know, they filed and got theirs,
The city filed to create it?
It's been for years, I mean, I guess Mark.
It's
Only
been-
thing I've
it's been-
ever heard of that's
I
like
think it's
that
been
is
longer
the,
than that.
Oh, it's been a long time, I mean, my
Yeah.
mom's very active in it.
development districts that they use, the economic development districts that they use, which were considered like public-private 501(c)(3), but I don't know. Those were statutory, so I don't know. This is the first time I'm hearing of it, so I have to.
Let's do some,
If you like, I
Legwork
can
on it.
get with Zach and we can talk a little bit more about it.
okay.
That's fine.
I'll shoot you an email and we'll go from there. We'll keep pushing it down the field a little bit.
all right, thank you.
All right.
So with all the, I just got one question, with all the, I guess, festivals coming up, have they all asked for money from you, like they normally do?
They have, yeah. As a matter of fact, I was just visiting with Patty and they'll be turning in theirs for the Yoga Country Frolic here pretty soon.
No, this weekend is the Old Settlers,
Old
correct?
Settlers is this weekend, 17th and 18th, Friday and Saturday. We also have, see, Kevin Smallwood is working with Scottsburg Main Street, and they're doing summer music on the square over on his property. And you probably saw that the 24th, they've got Brian Hopkins, who is a Lexington representative, Scottsburg High School graduate, IU.
Hoppy Eyes.
Yeah, pardon me?
Hoppy Eyes.
That's his
Isn't
dad.
Is it?
I think it's his dad.
Yeah.
Okay. But I know that he's playing music on Friday, the 24th. And then we've got Kayla Griffin, who will be performing on Saturday night, the 25th, over here on their property next to Hello Beautiful. It's on the corner of 56 and First Street. The fair is gearing up and getting ready to get things kicked off on the 3rd. I just saw that they have a sponsor for their fireworks on Monday night for the July 4th activity. And then the Oda Country Frolic, we'll probably hear a little something from the folks at Hardy Lake in regards to their Raptor Days. And we've already put together ad campaigns to go up on our electronic billboard for all of those programs.
About the Austin fireworks.
Austin Fireworks is scheduled for the Friday
First.
prior to, yeah, which is, yeah, I think it's the 1st. And they also requested money as well. So
All right, well, it seems like they're all going again, so.
it's that time of year.
Actually, I think it's quicker this year, I think. Perhaps, seems like the fair is getting a little earlier, seems like.
It is, and I do want the board to also know that one of the things that I see with a lot of our fairs and festivals is it consists of folks that are volunteers, and they're doing the best they can with what knowledge and experience they have, and I think that's fantastic. It's great. One of the things what we're going to try and do is put together webinars or seminars to kind of help them fine-tune some of their skills. And for instance, I'm doing one on the 30th of June. It's first, there'll be a 2-day or 2-part class, 2 hours each, and it's going to be on budgeting. And it's going to be budgeting for festivals, events, and special projects, so that folks understand exactly how to go about developing a project. Because I mean, just in the conversations I've had with Scottsburg Main Street, and they've got some tremendous ideas of what they want to do. My big question to them has always been, well, what's your budget look like? And they'll go,
We don't have any money.
They're like, I'm hoping you're helping out, yeah.
Exactly. So I want to assist them and help them understand the type of budget to put together, and as they go about putting that together, understanding the importance and strength of a committee and the expansion of a committee, so that they can fall back on those committee members to put their vision together and help them build those budgets, and then looking at different revenue streams and assisting them with that. And then more importantly, and this is probably the biggest part of it, is when you get a budget like this put together, it's actually sitting down and making that presentation to a board so that you can explain it thoroughly and efficiently and effectively, but also garner their support. So they're just as much a champion of it as the committee is. So we're gonna do this, and I've got other programs, GAPS, which is grants, alliances, partnerships, and sponsorships. Sales, solicitation, we'll go through all of this process, but the more I think about it, these are the components that I see missing in a lot of our festivals. And what we're trying to do is help educate and move these folks forward so that they're not as dependent on the Visitors Commission and the dollars to underwrite their programs. They can go out and, you teach somebody to fish, and they can feed their family. And that's one of the things we want to do, is help them become a little more self-sufficient and moving forward. And not to say that we're not going to continue to support them, because we certainly do. But what we want to do is be able to utilize those dollars for new pieces of that puzzle, new programs. It would be like, we use this weekends at Lexington Old Settlers. It would be great to be able to put together a reenactment of the Reno Gang train robbery, or Morgan's raid, and go through and have a true reenactment group come in and put that on. And those are expensive compositions. But by doing that and freeing up some of this money and getting some of the organizations to do more on their own from a fundraising standpoint, then they can come to us and say, hey, we need $15,000, $20,000 to be able to do this reenactment and put it on correctly. And then it enables us to build our festivals, and when we build those festivals and add various components like that, it makes it a whole lot easier to market.
Yeah,
A
they're
whole
all-
lot easier to bring people in.
Yeah,
So-
you're wrong.
So, just gonna try to help everybody.
Sounds good.
Have you guys discussed anything about, any more Christmas lights this year, add them on? Or-
We have, right now, we put together a budget of the same amount as we did last year, but we don't have to go into a tremendous amount of expense with some of the electrical cords and the rebar and all that. We did most of that last year, but we've got about another $20,000 allocated, and I know we've already gone in and placed some on hold. We haven't fulfilled the order yet, but we're just kind of waiting and see. Most of those companies are just now starting to release their 2022 designs and lights, so we want to kind of see what it is, and then we can drop some and add some. Yeah,
So
and
did
then,
we ever get the one back?
nope, we haven't. But the company that we got it from last year is looking for that second half of their warehouse to see if they can find an old second half that maybe we can get and utilize it. Otherwise, it's just going to be happy with the snowman.
Yeah, well, I think, I've talked to Andrew about trying to upgrade our cameras on the building to maybe have a better camera, because we should have been able to see what's going on, or a license plate or something, but if we don't have a camera, it's not that good, then,
And I talked to the guys about that, and when you add all of that ambient light,
well, it changed it.
it changes the whole perspective.
Yeah.
I mean, if that ambient light wasn't there, your camera system probably is perfect. I mean, it would have done what it needed to do, but all that ambient light, it just makes it hard to see and kind of fuzzes everything out.
Yeah,
It-
oh, I
it's
get
hard.
that, but,
But we're putting together a plan, you know, Randy, that would incorporate more of a festival type feel and atmosphere, and talking to our board and members of the community about some of the things we did when I was in St. Matthews and running the chambers. We would put up a big tent, and we had, you know, free pictures with Santa Claus, and we had a DJ there that was playing music for the kids and doing contests and fun stuff and giving prizes out. And we had letters to Santa Claus, and we had cookies donated, so cookies were given away free, and hot chocolate, and, you know, then we did a big lighting ceremony with Santa Claus, and, you know, over there was the mayor of St. Matthews. They flipped a big switch and the lights all came on. You know, so we're trying to figure out how we can do something similar.
well, I think that
Kinda
was the
continue to
biggest
build.
thing, that I think that if there was any drawback to the lights outside, everybody was really impressed with the lights, was that there wasn't, boom, they're
More
on.
to do.
Yeah, it was, they were already on 2 days before the, you know, the
Right.
parade and everything else, so that was the whole thing of, there wasn't any big fanfare, I guess,
Yeah.
is what I'm trying to get at, but.
So I think we'll do a little
But as far
fanfare
as
stuff.
the presentation, I think, I got multiple comments, people were really impressed with
Good.
what was happening, so.
I'm glad to hear that. You know, sometimes we don't hear a lot of the, you know, we always
Yeah.
hear the negative side of the world, but we never hear some of the
Oh, I
positives.
get that.
So,
Yeah, I know a lot of people think, you know, what's the big deal, it's just lights, but, you know, when you think about, like what Charlestown does and stuff, it's, you know,
That's-
what else can you do that brings in
Yeah.
people every night for a solid month?
Right.
You know,
And
and that's
money.
fuel, and it brings a lot of money.
They've got a huge investment in lights.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
would you say like 540,000?
It's close to, what I was told, again, I'm getting a secondhand, was close to $250,000
So too.
in light displays. And,
Of course, the question comes, does it bring that much revenue in with it?
Right.
yeah, I.
Who knows? You'd have to have some business.
Over the
people.
years in mine.
It might, but, I mean,
I hope so.
people go back.
I
People
go
talk
every
about
year.
it forever.
Take my grandkids over every year.
Yep.
Yeah, we do that. We
Yeah.
go there every year.
That little pizza shop there on the square.
Does well.
They shut down. They can't handle it. They shut down because it's just too much business for them.
Yeah.
People get
That
upset
would
they
be
can't get in.
that's an odd thing, too
That's
much
a-
business, but,
Wouldn't that be nice here in
yeah,
Scottsburg?
yeah.
I don't foresee that being a problem. All right, thank you,
Okay.
sir.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike.
I apologize. I have to sneak out and go pick up my daughter.
That time of year.
Thank you.
We've been running basketball. Oh my gosh. 2 games Monday night, 2 games last night.
Well, then when that's
4
over, you
games
can play,
tomorrow night.
that's over, you can play volleyball.
Yeah. She's playing volleyball too, so
Yeah, I
it's
know
a little bit of everything. All
All right, thank you.
Mike.
Patty, I guess you're the rep today.
I am.
Come on up. And I guess I was watching the council meeting, saw where you're retiring, trying to.
Yes,
Well, good for you.
thank
guess
you. Not,
we-
not till after the first of the year, but it's,
Well, we got time to beat you up a little bit.
yeah, please don't, please be gentle. Okay, I've got several things. First off, we've got 3 grants that we would like to have renewed. The first one here is it's called the COAG School Grant, which is the liaison between us and the schools so that we can help them. There's been a lot of things that have kind of slipped through the cracks with COVID and everything. We weren't able to do as many immunizations, and schools weren't able to do some of the other, things with hearing and vision and things. So we've got this grant to kind of be a liaison to where we can offer assistance, and they provide us some money, and then we can do, help with some funding for if we need, hire somebody or something. So anyway, it's $110,000, and it starts on July 1st.
No,
Oh,
we're
well, you
just-
need
we're
to
just-
sign these, I think.
We're just applying for it, we don't.
Well, no, we've already got them. This one here is renewed because it's automatically renewable.
Okay.
And then I've
Let's
got,
wait and do them all at the same time. So go
okay.
ahead.
Then I've got at the next 2 are preparedness. One's for $25,000. And that is the base grant that gives us funds to do different things with preparedness. I bought a lot of equipment. We did a lot of stuff for buying supplies and stuff during COVID, and we bought radios, a lot of different things that we've been able to get, to keep us up and going. And then the second one is, it's for 8410. It's called the CRI grant, which is the City's Readiness Initiative. And that's just where we collaborate with, we're in the Louisville Metropolitan Service Area, so that we would, have resources go back and forth between us. Louisville Metro would be the big city that would get a lot of things that would be, in a major disaster, public health wise.
So all 3 of these grants are, no match to the county, they're just money that you go out and get the grants.
That is correct. The 110 for the COAG is a deliverable base, so once I complete the deliverables, then we get the money, and then we do a budget and we spend it how we want to. The preparedness grants is, we spend it and then I turn claims in, and
It's reimbursed.
then we get reimbursed from the
And
state,
yeah,
yes.
that's what I'm saying, you've already got the council approved it, so I
Yes.
assume they're good for the money to be reimbursed.
Yes,
Yeah.
and the preparedness grants have been going on for probably 15 more or so years. The amounts change every year depending on the funds from the CDC, but it's all, and how many counties are going to take it, then they'll readjust the funds and stuff.
All right, you got any questions, Randy? John?
Sounds good to me. Thank you for
Anybody
that.
want to entertain a motion to pass all 3 grants?
Sure, pass, motion.
John makes a motion to accept all 3 grants, Randy?
I second that.
Randy seconds that, I'll make it unanimous, so I'll sign.
Thank you very much.
What else you got? You got anything else?
Say again,
Thank you for applying.
they pretty much insist that we do, so. I've got to do a lot of the work whether I get the money back for it or not, so it really helps to get the funding for it.
Not everybody does what they're supposed to do.
That's
So
true.
thank you.
Thank you.
What else you got?
Okay, we've got, where we contract out, if there's like any land or acreage or something that needs to be mowed. We've had this guy that's done, this is his 2nd year doing it. He would like to have his contract or his contract reevaluated, or do we need to rebid it out because he's asking for an increase from 150 per incident, regardless of the size of it could be a 2-acre, it could be a small house lot, just something, you know, if people don't mow and, then the funds come from, he gets paid by attaching it to the, tax bill. And so he's wanting an increase, and so we need to know if you want us to rebid that out or give him the increase.
So he's going from $100 to $400?
Correct,
But if it's an acre, it's 400, if it's a lot, it's 400, small lot.
correct.
Now, I guess I'm gonna ask a question, because I know he's just mowing. If we say, hey, your yard, your lot's too high, your field's too high, he's
This
not
is-
doing
this-
anything to clean that part.
No, and that's part of it. There could be anything in that, you know, as the property has overgrown, it could be, you know, there could be anything in there. And this is basically in the county, it's not necessarily in either city limits.
Yeah.
This is basically for counties. I checked with Tim, just so I had some information. He said we normally maybe do about 10 a year anymore. He said years past, we maybe done, you know, quite a few more, but now it's only about 10 or so. But we just need to know as we start getting,
Well, I've called Tim a couple of times, they get right on it. I'll give
yes,
him that.
yes, he
So-
does,
So is
so.
this a local guy?
I believe he is. Court McLaughlin did it for several
I
years.
just court it.
And then, Court decided not to when he branched out. And then, this guy, I don't personally know this guy, but I know Tim has worked with him.
I will tell you, I don't know about all of them, but a lot of these are people who don't even live in Scott County.
That's true.
They'll live somewhere else and they don't care about the grass and it grows and we have to mow it. I'm sure there's others,
Yes,
but by and large, that's what I have to deal with. Some guy lives in Louisville, and he rents this place and it's empty.
or he
for
could
the
live
last
in, you
2
know, in
years
Florida
or
somewhere, you know, he could be,
wherever,
and has no idea what's happening on his local property
They
too.
don't care.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
As long as he's getting his rent money, and some of them, they're abandoned houses or abandoned, places that, you know, no one is there anymore, and so no one is there to mow. I guess there have been a few times when maybe someone has been in the house or at the property at the time, and they have run him off, and, you know, so our thing is, you know, you just go away, and we're not gonna take a chance on anybody getting hurt because we've upset a
And I
landowner or
guess in
something.
Zach's case, you know, if you do 10 a summer, you know, he's gotta wonder whether it's worth it or not if you only get $40.
Right,
or
because you gotta load up your
50.
equipment, I mean, you
Yeah.
guys all know that too, and
Yeah.
everything to do that, so.
I think I only had 2 liens from last fall.
So you say this is something we pay, and then we
It
turn
come-
around and charge the tax, auditor the tax?
Yes, yeah, we just turn in a claim or turn in a thing to the auditor's office and it's all, it doesn't go through our funds at all.
Right.
And then I actually record the lien in the recorder's office, and so when abstractors come in, anybody that property's foreclosed on or sold on, they'll pay that up with the taxes. So then we get our money back, but it's part of my tax settlement.
Right.
What's your attorney think? We need to rebid it or?
What's the yearly amount on the contract?
Well, it went from 100 to 400.
I mean, it's a services contract too, so it's really under local ordinance and law, it's pretty much up to you guys.
I would like to open it up for another review process because, you know, sometimes it's a matter of the people are having financial difficulties or that there's health things. So just to add on to the cost, I think we should do our due diligence.
Well, he
and
will
see if
send a
it's
letter.
not cheaper.
He will send a letter to the property owner and give them, I think the ordinance states 5 days, but he will give them 10 to 14 days with the mail service and everything and give them a chance to respond. So, you know, it's not absolutely immediate, and then if he gets
No,
no
yeah.
response, then
Yeah.
he'll contact, you know, him to do it.
I understand that. I'm just saying that I think we should do what we can to make sure that they don't have to pay more than they have to. So that's why I think we need to open it up. for
Okay.
bid as well.
Okay? That's
I-
your pleasure, so.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, because he's going from 100 to 400.
I wouldn't call it
Kinda-
bidding, I would just call it, you know,
I think we just advertised if someone wanted to do
advertise
it.
like you would for, like, quotes for
Would he,
cleaning.
he bid this out last year? He didn't?
I think Zach's
I
first
think
year
it
was last year.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I do understand, you know, because me myself, I've had to raise prices for fuel. So I'm not saying anything negative about this guy. I just think we need to make sure that we're doing all we can to make sure that we're not taking advantage of a homeowner who might be in a bad situation.
Yeah, I'm sure there are some, but
Yeah.
the ones I've dealt with haven't been that way, but that's, I'm sure there are though, yeah. There could be an appeal
Well,
process or
let's just
something.
advertise it, and if it comes back and we don't get anybody else, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Okay,
He's not gonna quit, is he?
I don't know.
Well, I don't know either. He doesn't say that on here.
No, it does not, so,
When does his contract renew?
It says the end of the month.
okay.
Of course, I mean, he could have came 2 months ago and said, hey, I wanna increase this instead of a month before he.
You know, and I don't know him either.
I
I know, you know a lot about the mowing business, both of you do, but, I know in some of the cases, some guys I deal with, they're so busy, they ain't got really time to mess with this stuff.
Right, we might not.
Yeah.
We might not get anybody come back.
Yeah,
You know, and,
yeah.
and that's,
Yeah.
I just wanna be cautious.
I get what Randy's saying
Yeah, I do
as far as a homeowner that's kind of maybe fell on hard times and they can't afford to pay to have their yard mowed, or they've skipped a couple of months or something's happened, and instead of getting $100 on your
Yeah.
tax bill, you're getting a
I agree,
$400
yes.
on your tax bill. And
And it could be someone that's, a property owner that maybe has gone to the nursing home
Yeah.
or is out, got some bad health, family's trying to keep up with everything and
Yeah.
can't, can't keep up with everything, so.
And maybe he would, maybe he would give us a
Thanking your
list.
family's doing it, and when you get out of the hospital, it hadn't been done.
Right, because they've been somebody to take care of you.
Yeah.
let's just shoot it out there, do an advertisement, see what we get. If we don't get anything different, or we settle with what we got, so.
Good with me.
So, okay,
Okay,
that it?
no, I have one more.
You do.
What happened when you,
There's only 2 things on here.
well, this one here is a contract for a preparedness liaison that is going to, the last several years, she has worked through funding from the state, and I've always brought that grant into you. Well, the state is not funding it anymore, but she is willing to continue, and that's just helping with the preparedness, and especially since I am going to be retiring, and so we can keep a smooth flow until things do happen, and get, someone to take over, then we would like to contract with her. I would still be working with her, and she's contracting with several counties now on her own instead of getting the money from the state. It will come out of the 8410 grant that, the one of them that you just signed for the CRI, because she does the CRI documentation and everything, and her contract for the year would be $8,000. So we
So
just,
the money's in place.
yes, most definitely, yes.
I don't have a problem. Hey, John, you got an issue with that? Randy? I mean, entertain a motion to continue her services, and money's in place, so.
And do they have a copy of this? I know she sent it to Zach, so, I've got this one here that, I don't know if they have to sign, we just get approval, because it's got like,
I totally missed it because I was pulling
Okay.
up purchasing things.
well, it says signed on behalf of the health department and the preparedness consultant, so I think that would be us signing, as long as you've given us. Okay, yes, thank you very much.
What was the motion and who?
I haven't,
Oh, okay.
nobody's gave one yet. I'm gonna entertain a motion to accept this lady to complete the year on the contract, that, I guess, entering that contract with her for services,
For July 1st to June 30th.
and the money's in place through a grant, so.
I'll make that motion.
Randy makes that motion,
Second.
John seconds that, and I'll make that unanimous, so.
Now, I have one more thing off the record.
I'm on those 4 things.
It's recorded, you're on.
We have, talking about the mowing and everything, we have got a lot of poison ivy, poison oak, poison sumac, something that is in our landscaping at the very front of our building and out in the road
I'm
is,
not coming out there, but
I know, us neither, Brittany looks at it and she's,
I agree.
she's tore up. But is there, like, would the highway have any kind of spray or anything that they could come and help us get rid of this so that we can,
yeah.
I mean, it's right there, and you don't know if kids are just gonna swing by and grab, bushes or something, just walking in.
Is it in one area, or is it?
It's mainly when you walk in the front door, right to the right, and that side over there, and then on the right side of the driveway when you're first pulling in from out by, from off the highway.
Let me get with Kevin, see if he's got some spray, so.
My husband has done it the last several years, using his own stuff, And it's good for a year, but it's,
When are they gonna take them out?
we have not heard anything from anybody. Somebody worked on the ditch
Yeah.
area, sometime this last
Well, I
week or
thought the
weekend.
Young Marines were gonna
Well,
take
we
them.
thought so too, but we have
They
not.
haven't done it yet?
They have not
Okay.
reached out anymore.
They contacted me, and I contacted Josh on their behalf for them, and Josh is supposed to be getting 811 involved, just to make sure that there's no lines or anything, they don't want the kids hurt.
Okay.
The process.
There is, the city has done extensive work, and either Spectrum or somebody, but there is a wire or something coming up out of the ground, and there was like a guide wire thing, but it has bent over, so it's flopped over, and it has, so we probably really need to get with the city too on that too.
Nobody knows what that thing is.
No,
either.
but when I try to pull it, it pulls right out, and there
Yeah.
is something coming out from the ground, some kind of cable.
Mm-hmm.
So, that needs to, I think, just in a high wind, that went down, and so it just, flops over from one side to the other, depending on where you're mowing at the time. But we,
Well, I'll get ahold of Kevin and see about spraying some areas.
that would be very much appreciated.
All right.
All right, thank you very
All right,
much.
no problem.
All right.
Thank you, Patty. Enjoy.
Mr. EMS,
On Joe's. I do need copies of those
how's your people holding up in the hot weather?
It's okay. She said this to me, I just said to Zach, so.
Actually, I'm gonna tell you, I'm kinda surprised that we haven't had more citizens down because of the hot weather, but I do know you've had multiple runs because of it, but.
Yeah, we've actually had, well, we haven't had many, the ones we've had have been actually pretty serious, so,
Yeah,
good and bad.
yeah.
I have the wrong date on the top because I'm not awesome, but other than that, the rest is correct. You've got your stuff as normal. We've got one deposit for the month so far and it's just shy of 60,000. We've got 3 deposits remaining. Hopefully by the second meeting in June, I can get you finalized numbers, but just where we're at. Judging by the documents that were stated in a prior meeting from last year, the January 2021 to June 2021 amounts you guys brought in at EMS were $641,319.03. So far, January 1st to current date, we have bought in $759,599.18, and we still have 3 deposits remaining. So
We're ahead of the game.
we are $118,820 above plus 3 deposits.
Good
So
for you.
hopefully we're gonna end
Good
somewhere
for
in the
citizens.
175 to 200 would be my ideal goal to hit, being above 200,000 where we were from last year.
You had
Training,
just more runs or just doing a better job just getting the revenue in?
we have very few, not very few, a lot less runs sitting out there. A lot quicker acquisition of money. And then the runs that are getting kicked back are being handled almost immediately, so.
Got
I think it's-
our run volume up or down?
Our run volume is down about 18% right now,
But our revenue's up.
That's what I want to hear.
so.
Good.
Training, go
ahead,
ahead.
no.
Okay. Training, we're at just shy of 21,000. Paramedic program interviews have started. We should finish them by the end of next week. We've had one person, did not meet the requirements that applied, so our numbers on where we'll end up will be somewhere between 9 and 12, depending on if everybody wants it or everybody gets in, but it's still gonna be.
So to clarify, the interviews are not like a job interview. It's pretty much an interview of, do you have these qualifications to meet the criteria to get in the program?
Yeah, we still ask, what is your history, how long you've been in EMS, stuff like that. But it's more of you have to take 7 tests prior to your interview. Some of them are reading and spelling and verbiage. Some of them have to do, one of them is a National Registry basic exam. One of them is a math test. One of them is a test anxiety test. There's just, it's kind of character calibrator tests that kind of figure out, and then you have those,
So just anybody doesn't get in this program?
correct. And you have to
And it
meet,
doesn't make you a bad EMT or an advanced
No.
EMT, it just says you need
there's
to do
just certain parameters that have to be met.
Okay.
So, we'll see what it
I was
is.
just
but-
curious, cause I knew some people that were interviewing, they were like, they were whizzing out about it,
Yeah,
spazzing out, and I'm like, it's an interview, I mean,
yeah, it's not like a job thing to where if we don't like you, we don't hire you. It's if you have the right qualifications, then you're in.
okay.
So,
And you're saying between 9 and 12, you're thinking,
yeah, we capped it at 15, just to kind of keep us under another, COVID/monkeypox future possibility to where we wouldn't have to go virtual because of the amount of people and the amount of space we have. That way, if something else did arise, we could stay away from virtual more than we would have to. So we were kind of planning for the future on that one. So we're gonna make a couple phone calls to some people that showed interest in the past, but, you know,
also, do you have, cause I got an email on, is there a visit from, that's what I thought. Is that sometime this fall or sometime before the end of the year or what?
September, I believe, was their date.
And that's a requirement as
Yeah,
well.
that's- everybody gets
nothing That's not a surprise then.
It is a site visit that will determine whether we have to continue to do our letter of review or not.
And that's one reason
We had to do
we
this
were
once.
wanting to continue this, cause once we get over a certain one,
Once we get past the letter of review and get our certain thing, then we don't have to continue on with the
that's where I was
schedule.
getting at.
Correct.
Okay,
So,
alright, move on.
okay, Safe Haven Baby Box. Box is mounted and installed. The only thing we're waiting on right now is the interior trim to be put in. They were waiting on that just to make sure all the wiring was ran and we didn't have to peel stuff off to put it back on. And the concrete pad outside. That is to be determined. Trying to get a hold of them, but I'm sure we'll make contact at some point. We're just waiting on dates on that. ADS.
It's still where somebody can access it though. Yeah.
ADS came in last week, put in the audible alarm and the visual light sensors in there, along with a dialer that would, once the alarm triggered, would automatically dial 911 in case we weren't there. That was a nightmare, because for the last week, Josh and Andrew, I know Josh was up there a day or two, and Andrew's been out there dang near every day trying to figure out the routing of everything, and today we have officially succeeded, or he has officially succeeded in figuring that out. So everything there is operational, so now the only thing that we have left to do then is obviously the pad and the trim, and then Safe Haven has to come down and give its blessing, and we should be good. After that's done, like I had talked about previously, we would like to do open house and all of that.
Yeah.
However, one chink in the chain here. As of June 1st, is that when it changed?
Yeah, the new law.
Yeah. June 1st, to have a Safe Haven Baby Box in your building.
July 1st.
June,
No, this was a June 1st.
yes. Weird date. It's already in place. The reason we know that is because I guess somebody else went to go get inspected on theirs and did not meet because they did not meet this. Apparently as of June 1st, 14 days ago, for you to have a live and active baby box, you have to be under 24-hour monitoring of a fire alarm system. We are not.
Well, I was out there today and that kind of shocked me that we built a building, a brand new building, and we probably have an alarm system in the building, but we don't have it monitored by a outside firm or a direct dial to 911, so,
So we have residential smoke detectors that are, some of them are hardwired like into the electrical system, but some are battery operated, but they don't go anywhere but audibly within the building. So they don't alert ADT or ADS or dispatch or anybody. They're just,
They alert if you're there.
yeah, if you're there, you'll know. If you're not, you'll find out when you get
You
back.
might know anyway if you're there.
I see the smoke.
So, that is an issue. That is something we're gonna have to do, or all of this was for naught. Devonna, reached out, but the lady didn't answer, to get some clarification from me. Okay, can you,
She said that we have two options, is that we have a 24-hour system that is not with the same company that we have now. It has to be a completely different system. Or we have to get some sort of box that goes around the baby box. And she said that she called to get an estimate on one today for another place, and it's gonna be pushing $9,000. And they can't get the parts to make them.
They what?
They can't get the parts to make them.
When you say that someone else, then we have no one now.
Yeah, but we can't use, like, you can't have the same, where we have the dialer system now, we have to have a different system besides just that system.
So
So
the
we would
dialer
have to-
system for the baby box has to stay separate from an alarm for the fire department.
Yes,
That
So we
makes-
could
that
not
makes
use
sense.
dispatch.
we cannot use dispatch.
So we-
Well, why couldn't you have a separate alarm system that still calls dispatch?
It has to be an outside source, is what she was saying, because you have to have two, you have to have another way for them to be able to get a hold of them. In case one fails, they don't want the other one to fail.
And we can't run two dialers because we don't have enough phone lines.
So if that's separate call out
Yes.
Which makes sense, because if the initial call out source for the baby box doesn't work, then it won't work for the fire alarm.
Yeah, but if it's two different systems, but calling the same number, that's two different systems, not,
We'd have to then install a full another keypad.
that's what I'm saying.
We could look at that
That's
option.
what I'm saying.
Okay.
is that two different separate systems, baby box being a system,
And
fire
then
alarm being another
another
system with
system.
another dialer,
Okay.
or another
So
keypad.
I talked to Andrew while I was sitting out here. He's gonna get me, two quotes. One that has, a quote, including another dialer, to kind of have dispatch as our monitoring system, but not using that keypad. And then he's going to get me one that would be like an ADT or a whatever.
Yeah.
Problem with that is I know for a fact that'll meet Safe Haven's requirements, but then you have another monthly subscription that you have to pay.
So do I need to get a hold of Core Center or whoever for the fire
Yes, please.
part?
Why would- why would you have-
ADS.
Why would you have to go to court?
So ADS is gonna do the fire and
Well,
then?
Andrew was gonna talk to him,
Okay.
but if we think
I didn't
that,
know detectors, what he was talking about, if that had to be.
You know, I can't think of that. I mean, there's a lot of systems out there, I mean, that would do that, but I mean, commercial systems would maybe different.
I'm just using ADT
I
as
know,
a
that's, I used to.
frame of reference, just because it's,
But there's another one out, there's, I mean,
Vivint
there's a
and-
local one here. Huh?
Vivint is one.
There's a local one here too, I mean, I don't know if he's still doing it or not.
But-
Arbuckles are still doing it,
Troy Ponders also does.
so.
We can reach out.
Troy's he's a genius at that stuff,
So, if, I just wanted you to know there might be, if we have to do a subscription thing, it might
I'm
be
just-
something we have to.
I'm just shocked that we
Figure
didn't,
out, and
we didn't
it's-
have anything in the future, in the past.
Seems odd, doesn't it?
Especially when you got people sleeping there, I mean.
I just wanted you guys to know, since it's kind of the commissioner's building, that there could be another fee that comes associated with the building type deal.
But the box she was talking about, we have to do that too, though, right? That
Not if we do the alarm system. So what they,
Okay,
it's
so
like a
it won't-
specialized firebox that would encompass it in itself, but then we wouldn't have to do the whole building. But like she said, it's
It's
over $9
cheaper to do
grand.
The whole building.
It'd be like, several years before we caught up to that. And for the simple fact that I like the alarm idea better because it also protects my people that are there and not a box. So,
I agree. I will say this, I was out there today when the alarm went off and it's loud, so.
yes, very loud. There is no sleeping through that alarm. I mean, we have an alarm in the bay in case our people are outside, and we also have an alarm in the hallway that leads to the crew quarters. That even if I can hear that alarm in my office, you can hear that alarm in the training room, you can hear, like, it is insanely
And
loud.
it flashes too.
Yes, and it flashes a very bright blue light,
Very impressive, but
so.
So could you reach out to Troy Armo to make sure that they have that?
Yeah, I'll let Andrew know. Like Andrew's kind of, or if
Yeah.
Josh wants to, whoever, that's not my, I mean, I'll do whatever you'd like, but they have a lot
Rather
more
than
contact with
maintenance
them.
guys, they need to know what they're doing.
And like I said, Andrew's been out there dang near every day trying to figure this thing out, so. He figured it out today, and, just so you guys know, Scottsburg Fire will get toned out with EMS every time when that baby box is activated, just because A, it's their coverage area, and B, they're closest. And then if we are there, we'll just obviously signal 9 the fire department, but they also have now 5 fobs that will give entry into our building. I know the top command there has it, and then a couple of their main vehicles have it, so where, if we aren't there, we're all on runs, the building is still accessible by the fire department, and they know how to use the keypad, they know how to use the baby box, and all that stuff was gone over, so there is a fail-safe in case we're not there.
Great.
All the vehicle fiasco is done. Kevin's got his vehicles, we've got our vehicles, and you shouldn't hear about vehicles from me for at least like a month or 2. Just kidding. Should be a hot minute. I don't.
Well, I mean, everybody I think's happy with what they ended up with, so that was the goal.
I hope so. And
I
then
think at the least,
Hunt County Highway guys are.
they should be.
at the least amount of money, I think everybody's pretty happy, so.
Yeah.
I was really surprised they kept the toppers though. That was their choice, so.
Yeah. They kept one of the slide outs, I think, and both toppers, which is fine. So, and they kept some of our lighting on the back that was just easier for them to repurpose and beneficial to them, so they wouldn't have to buy lights, and it was gonna cost me more to take them off and repurpose them than it would have been just to buy another $300 light, so they got some nice lights on their stuff too, so worked out for everybody.
Good.
The other thing that's on the agenda, internal SOPs. So, most of ours have not been updated since 2006 to 2008. A lot of the stuff doesn't make sense or didn't make sense. So everything that has a colored tab on the side is things I've changed, which is more than there's not. If you guys would like to review those all and approve them, if you trust me, whatever you'd like to do, I've just given you all a copy, and I have not highlighted on the page, I've just marked what's changed. I know you don't have anything to go off as a basis. If you'd like the originals, they're at the station and I can get you a copy.
Is there anything here that's gonna shock us? I mean, I take your word on this, I wanna know if there's some issues we need to know about.
Like the uniform one, we changed uniforms, so it went from saying 3 polos to 2 tactical shirts. One thing that we did allow was temperatures over certain degrees. We did allow EMS shorts, just like the fire department does. All uniforms have to have some sort of affiliation, like you can't wear a John Deere hat and, you know, muck boots to work. Like it's stuff like that. I can look at these, that's dress code. Station security about making sure the bay doors are closed when you leave. Like there's nothing in here that's like, you can have parties after midnight or anything crazy like that. And a lot of it is just verbiage to, like we had one for fueling from 2006 that said you have to use these certain gas stations with these certain cards. We don't do that anymore. So now it's like you use the fuel pump with your assigned PIN. In the case that those are out, you get a WEX, you know, card from a user, stuff like things like that. You're more than welcome to take it and review it. We can talk about it next meeting, or
That's more of an update, I mean, I think.
yeah, and I mean,
that's what
nothing has been changed. The only thing that's really been changed is the helicopter protocol one, which is, I believe, the last one on here. But it's all stuff that we've been doing since January. It's just, it's finally on paper and updated.
Okay.
Like the response times used to say 2 minutes and 4 minutes. Now they say 1 minute and 3 minutes. So there's nothing crazy in here that's went, but you guys approved the last ones. So I didn't want to do anything without, as you can see, I've been working on this since April. But I didn't want to just implement something, somebody say something to you and be like, I never know what you're talking about. So it's
You've
here.
done pretty
before-
good work, what I've
It's-
seen,
it's,
so I'm good with you.
And then like the truck checks, we use an online truck check now. It used to say you have to use paper and the thing, we now use a digital one. So like it's more to conform with what we're doing, not 16 years ago. But again, everything is in here. I'm trying to go through, make sure something doesn't catch me off guard here. What was that? So hazmat, documentation. Like, yeah, the last documentation one had paper PCRs, so you know that one's been a minute. Part-time pool where we don't have on-call anymore. The on-call exclusion is still in here in case we ever get that back, but it was just kind of, the part-time requirement is you do 48 hours a month,
See.
as
there-
long as the schedule allows.
I see there's a tag on the tardiness and attendance. I mean, has that changed to the extent that it could violate?
No, it was actually updated
County
to
policy.
match because our other one was in 2006. The county handbook changed in 2019.
That's
So
usually-
I changed it to match that.
That's usually one that somebody will go, well, that's not fair, and so I want to
Yeah,
make
so
sure.
that was updated to match current
Okay.
handbook and not 2006 handbook. And that's what most of this is.
And that's what I don't want to change something that somebody in legal is gonna say.
Like, there was no EMS advisory board in there, so that was just kind of thrown in there. Ambulance parking, like before it would say you park the on-call spot in the third bay where we run 3 trucks now, that was removed and put that, you know, offline trucks are parked out back and the 3 main trucks are in the bay. And like I said, the big one is which is towards the back, is the helicopter one that denotes that the new landing zones that we've come up with PHI and Air Methods that Jeff has a copy of that are all input automatically, and the procedures in which we use predetermined landing zones and stuff like that, because a lot of those were outdated. And then all of the immediate dispatch or reach out for helicopter, none of those changed. Like where the dispatch would automatically do it on their own, none of that was changed. It was just more of which helicopters we use, the availability, the order that they go in, automatic activation and not automatic activation, and that's about it.
All right. Randy, you want to review that, or are you all right with it?
Like I said, if you guys,
It's just a little light reading.
Devon spent a lot of time tabbing those for you.
I have a quick question.
Go ahead.
Helicopters, do we have a contract with each one of them, that who we call first? How do we decide who gets the first call?
The dispatch has a one call with Stat Flight right now, I believe, because they are the closest, not Stat Flight, PHI out of Madison, because air mile wise, they are closer than anybody. And then if they are not available, then they kick it over to the next closest, which is Bedford and then Seymour. And I get reports each month, every time that we request a helicopter, who picked up, like who actually answered the phone, who was requested, which PHI 7, Indiana 7 is requested first 95% of the time, and if they weren't available, who they called and who showed up. And I will say, I have had 0 questions so far that they've put Stat Flight 2 in front of Air Methods, because I've only received Stat Flight 2 probably 3 times since I've been here, and I've seen Kentucky 11 significantly more. So they do a really good job about balancing, like they're not staying in-house for the simple of staying in-house. Everything I've seen, they are abiding by the call order. And Eric provides me a report every month, at the end of every month, that says, I think you get it too, that says that you were called here, we couldn't because we were already on a flight, so Kentucky 11 took it. Or we declined due to weather, Kentucky 11 declined due to weather, and Stat 2 picked up. But we do have a one call with PHI.
I don't have any problem with this. I think they're doing a great job, I trust you. But one question I do have, Tammy's kind of take care of our human resources. Is this something that you probably need?
It would be their internal departmental controls, and as long as there's nothing in there, like Mike alluded to, that would be conflicting with handbook policy regarding tardiness, but he would establish his own dress protocol. This is basically,
This is our internal stuff that
Internal rules.
doesn't supersede.
so as long as it's checked against the handbook for those HR things, I'm all good with it.
I get that, I just
Yes.
didn't know if you wanted to input before us.
I'm trusting too about it.
Okay.
I think you'd be fine.
Good
Yes, and I
job.
appreciate you asking me though. I appreciate that very much.
You're more welcome to look if you want, at least the tardy or whatever, but it all was just updated to
That
the
updated to my.
2019 stuff.
It just affects your job, so I
It
think
does, because I would get the call because somebody.
And in the
Well,
beginning-
the handbook says this and our SOPs say this, and if we ever would, then we would specifically take a look at that and make sure that it came in alignment and it would be brought before you guys.
And for your
also.
peace of mind, it says right here, should there be a conflict between the sources that are provided, the personnel handbook policy will always precede the concerning operational issues.
And that works. That's good.
So that was kind of
because
a blanket statement that says that,
if you don't update your SOPs, the handbook is gonna override it.
right, and that's
That's
pretty
pretty
much,
And that's what has happened since 2/16.
Yeah, so-
2016.
That's good.
we have that verbiage in there that says the county handbook will override these if there is a conflict.
So I appreciate your input on that. That's very good.
All right. Well, I guess I'll entertain a motion to accept.
Motion made.
John made a motion to accept EMS's updated SOPs.
I'll second.
Randy seconds that, and I'll make that unanimous, so. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
burning another tree down.
2 more things and I'm done. A real quick redevelopment update on that. We've purchased the butterflies and I believe those were turned into Tammy. The AP vent was turned into Tammy. Stryker should have got their check because I stopped getting emails. Watson Signs was turned in today. Lighted Up, I'm still waiting on an invoice for, and the pumps are pending because it is an archaic process to purchase from them. But other than that,
I'm gonna ask a question. APH Finn, is that the one that you said you were borrowing the hospitals?
no. We have had one, but we've ran into a few issues where we had multiple vent transfers and we'd have to wait for them to come back, so now we have 2 vents. And it allows us to keep them on the vent now.
EMS, Hollis Council, first responder, 043, 618 Cedar Street, 618 Cedar Street, 39-year-old female.
Wow. That allows us to keep them on the trucks now, because they're both medic trucks, and if they do innovate in the field, we have a protocol that allows us to put them on the vent.
Okay. Anything else?
Nope. One thing, it's been a little over 6 months, and I wanna know if there's anything I can do for you. We can change, you don't like, something you have questions about. Anything we need to do different, any information you like getting, don't like getting, or whatever.
Nick, there goes that thing, no news is good news. I'm just not hearing anything bad, so
Good.
you must be doing okay.
Yeah, I can say that since you've taken over, I've not been receiving any phone calls. I've not had any complaints. And that's a great comfort. I appreciate the job you're doing. I really do.
Well, I have to echo that. I went from a phone call every day to no phone calls, so I'm pretty happy that, and I still communicate with your people and ask them, hey, how's things going? And the ones that I was always hearing, you know, every day from are happy as a lark, so. And we've always said that personnel will work itself out, and I think it has, and I think we have a good relationship with the local people, and I think, from hearing from people that work in Washington County, they have a good relationship with us over here, so, I know we still do mutual aid with both of them, so. I think the biggest thing that I'm happy with is that we're $118,000 above where we were last year, so.
The 3 deposits to go.
So you and your team is doing an absolute great job.
Just,
Okay. Well, if there's anything you'd like from us,
just
or,
quit wrecking ambulances.
I'm not ready.
Quit having
I
somebody
have
run
one
in-
problem child,
Quit having
and
somebody
in
run
his
into-
defense, I've witnessed one that was not his fault, so,
Quit having somebody run into something that's got lights and sirens on it.
that'd be great. All right.
Anyway,
And
Hey,
I
Nick.
wanted to tell you too about the redevelopment commission, I'm sorry to
Mm-hmm.
delay you, but, our redevelopment board attorney, she contacted me, and, she said that she will be writing a document, a resolution type thing, that probably should, what I took from this, it was a very brief email, but the list of expenses that you had for the redevelopment reimbursement, I'll call it. She's gonna write a document up that like Baker Tilly alluded to, that we can put in the file that said this was all.
So we're good.
I think we're gonna be good on everything.
Perfect.
Commissioner Caldwell has something he'd like to say.
I can talk a little more since you're behind me.
Where's he at?
Oh! One other problem. You've got AEDs in this courthouse, and some of them don't work, and some of them are out of date.
I thought we put new ones in here last year.
Is it the second floor that's got an X?
This one right out here is the one that has the X.
So this one right out here has got an
It's
X.
dated for 6/20/21.
That's 20, but I could be wrong.
6/20/21, but it has an X on it, but
So who put those in for one thing? and
those
then-
was put in back when, I don't want to say this wrong, but Greg.
I think EMA department put those in years ago.
Yeah, but I've never ever seen anybody here check those.
So there's this company called Strike.
Well, quite honestly, here's where I'm gonna go with that. If they don't work, take them out of the box, because I don't want somebody to have a false sense of hope that that's a good.
I know nothing about them, so that's why I asked Nick to check them, because I don't know anything about those.
Have you checked
On a legal status.
No.
Devon was up here and did.
if they work or not work?
One of them's fine.
We have an AED out there, it's
One of them
non-functional.
does
This
not.
one does
Somebody, when
not.
it goes to
And the other
grab
one
it,
is
do
out of
something,
date.
we can be.
Yeah.
So you're 2
Out
for
of date
3.
is out of date, I assume is more of a legal problem than it would be.
Functionality,
Yeah.
yeah.
Have some,
So we gotta replace two.
I actually thought we had a meeting about this, and this was actually brought up one, not,
had a,
Not the ones in this building, but
I thought Jeff brought it up.
not that I remember. And he could have, I just don't remember it,
I don't
but
know if Bill.
I think if they're not working, we need to take them out.
Yeah,
until
my
we
biggest
either
question
get.
with Nick was, I just wanted to see if somebody could check them to know if we needed to get new ones and how.
So there's nothing we can do about that one.
So the
you've already
batteries,
looked at it? Okay.
The one, which one's good?
I
Second?
did not go upstairs.
Okay.
So-
One of them is still in date and still okay, if you
the
want.
batteries need to be checked.
Yeah, and that's the issue with that one, is it's toast. That's why there's a red X on it.
So the red X comes from it's an electronic red X.
Mhm.
Okay, so, okay, I didn't know someone went up there and put a red X.
No, it's like they got the little screen in the corner, it's got a check mark or an X, and it's,
Is that how you do that?
No.
Just walk by and?
just put a sticker on it.
So that one's
Toast.
toast. The one, is there one in the basement?
Sounds like we
There's
need
one
two.
downstairs and there's one on the second floor.
Yeah, we got 3 on.
There's
one
3,
on
so
each
there's-
level.
So I guess we need to check the other two before we leave tonight
I'll go check them.
and tell us if they're
Well, you-
good, bad, or what we need to do.
You said one of them's out of date anyway, so.
From what I talked to, or what I looked on them on, the two that I looked at had the same thing up there, and there was people going upstairs, so I didn't wanna go up there.
So if
with
it's
the
out of
judges.
date, does that mean, it's gotta go too, doesn't it?
In theory, yes. It's a legal issue more than it is functionality,
Yeah,
but
I
yeah.
get that, yeah.
So I'll go check them.
So I guess I'm gonna ask a question to you. I mean, are they in this building out of necessity, or are they in this building because we choose to put them here?
I'll be honest, I wasn't here when they were put in, so I don't know.
I
would just
There's probably a rule
assume-
somewhere.
Yeah, I would just assume that they were probably put
Because of
in.
public building?
Yeah.
Well, then we need to see how much,
I guess my thing was.
I can tell you what strikers are.
That's just the right thing to do.
Yeah,
I get that.
Maybe,
I
I
would
just, I wouldn't know off the top of my head.
I think we
we
probably.
need to get a price on
$2,800.
something besides striker.
I think we need to talk with Jeff, because I'm pretty sure we had a meeting, he said something about one time he was gonna,
There's grants, I think, that they,
Yeah.
They
There
get,
was a
they
grant.
secure them sometimes
For
with
fun,
grants.
and for
Yeah,
functionality purposes, if Jeff can get a hold of Stryker, that would be better, because if they are used and they plug in, but obviously something's better than nothing. And I will say, there's companies out there for instances like this, that do remanufactured and refurbished, that are certified to be used in places, that, are significantly cheaper.
So maybe that one could be traded in.
Yeah, and they do
Refurb.
trade-in programs.
Yeah,
So you can take what you've got and they may give you trade-in credit, but you can also buy refurbished ones that are certified that you can put out there. That way you're not buying a brand new one for each floor, and it'll save you money than
see,
buying a
we
brand
should
new
be
one.
getting those in Cecilia Mechanicals. I knew something.
I got 4 coming.
Do we have any idea how old those are?
I
How
can
long they've
look.
lasted?
I can look
Just
at
curious, we're getting 5 years out of them too? or-
Those are way before my
They've been
time.
before my time.
They were, yeah, I remember.
It's been a hot
I think
minute, I'm sure.
EMA,
I think you're right, I think Greg did put them in there.
And I think it may have been through a grant that we were able to get those, and,
Well, maybe we get with Jeff and see if Jeff can find a grant for that,
yeah.
so. But in the meantime, we need to get them replaced.
I have one at my station that I can swap out for the bad one. I can do that tomorrow if you want,
For that,
as long as I get it back.
yeah. Oh, well, forgot about that
In
part.
about 5 years.
When I get on the next
When it's no good, you can have it back.
I'll bring that one up here tomorrow.
All right,
That'll go up on that source.
It's gonna be loud here for a second.
yeah. Courthouse roof repair quote. And that was the alarm. Tell us what your 21, 621.
So we, we heard back from, Royalty Roofing, who come back with what, 218?
18. I think.
$218,000. And,
And that was actually for supporting the roof, supporting the roof, then taking the roofing off down to the original decking, and then putting a membrane on it, waiting for the truss or the timber to be jacked back up.
Yeah.
Then they'd come back after it was jacked back up and put the metal back on, but that metal was in the original 149.50 quote, so.
right.
So that was their quote of 218 was doing both jobs. So go ahead, I'm sorry.
So, no, that's, thank you. And so, and I've reached out to a couple other, construction companies that, have the means to do this. And literally, almost everybody, told me, came back with, we can give you a quote if you need us to give you a quote, but honestly, we don't have time to do it. Anyway, so, and Thomas did come back with a quote. Thomas has the manpower and the equipment, and Thomas will actually drop what they're doing and come and do it.
That's the other AD.
Thomas will actually, make time to get this done, but their quote that they come back with was $99,750.
And that was just for bracing, stabilizing the beam, and then coming back after the roof is taken off and down to the original decking by another company, and then they would come back and repair the one beam.
Yes, correct. So they'll come in, they'll, align the, jack supports up with the LVL. They're going to put up a temporary wall, around these jack supports to make sure that during hours of operation here at the courthouse, nobody is getting around those jacks. Then, once that is supported, and we know that the truss will no longer fail while Royalty Roofing is up there, Royalty will be taking off all the shingles and the decking down to the original decking. And at that point, Thomas will come back in on a weekend, Saturday and Sunday if need be, and they will jack that truss back up to where it needs to be, install the LVL, and at that point, it's back to Royalty again. But it ends up saving us from the original quote, $45,000.
Well, I had to back up a little bit to clarify some of this. I actually went out to another contractor as well, and he came and looked at it and came back and said that he thought it was a bigger job than what he could do, and he backed out of it. The other part of this is that I also asked Royalty to come back when they came back with the 218 quote for all of it, is to come back and just give us a price for stripping the roof and getting it down to the original decking. And that cost, I think, was 63 or 65. It was, so with the 65 and the 99, we're still cheaper than the 218 that they had for both of theirs. So yes, it's two different companies, but it's still a savings, you know, what, $50,000 or 60,000 or something like that. So, so anyway.
The issue with a lot of it is when they go to jack up, when any of the companies go to jack up, and put their bracing in, we'll have to have, our HVAC people come in and actually remove, HVAC in some of the areas because the walls are right where they're gonna put up temporary walls is right in the middle of where they would like to put bracing.
I think, Thomas is planning on doing that.
He told me that they were gonna have, that I would have to contact who does it. So that's what he told me.
Oh, okay. Well,
I thought that's what he said. I mean,
that changed from the original conversation I had.
So is it metal ductwork or
I'm sorry.
is it metal ductwork that needs to be rerouted?
Yeah, the whole
or
unit will have to come out, so when I spoke with, SNO who does our contract, they said that they would, when the next time they're up here, they'll get a date on that unit because every unit, that are getting close to 30 years old or however, when the building was done, if it's old, it may be replaced anyway, so if we need to just pull it and eventually replace it, that's what that's what happens. I've got one sitting down on a crate right now because one of our units just happened to start working again. But I said what Tristan updated my budget because I have a really low, line budget for my heat pumps. That will, my one line will do one heat pump. And that's, I mean, I have 3 to 4 go out a year because of the age of those units.
So while we're on that subject, in this particular unit, how many offices is that servicing?
I think it's just the hallway. I could be wrong, but I think that may just be the hallway right there.
That one hallway?
So as I said, it may be fine, it may not be anything that will really, and from my understanding, we'll have to shut that hallway down.
But, well, before we agree to go into another unit like that, then maybe we need to look at going to, what do you call them? Mini splits.
Well, we will, but the problem with the mini splits is we have 2 flat roof areas, and that's up at the 2nd story. So there's no way to get that down to the 1st floor unless you run a tremendous amount of line sets to that unit. But, I mean, I would like to do that because I would like to get away from the cooling tower eventually. And that's something with, and I know this is not on the subject, but if you ever do build onto the building like an annex, I would prefer a flat roof just because I think we could incorporate either multiple rooftop units, that's, maybe 3 units would do the building, or multiple mini splits that would set, for the upstairs would set on the roofs over here and then the ones over there. But yes, I think we can take that one out possibly because I'm under the impression the wall is gonna go all the way down to where the camera system is. So it's gonna shut that area down.
Stop a second here. Nick, go ahead, I know you want to get out of
You're
it.
actually safe. These are the public ones that you can replace the batteries in. So Josh is taking a picture of those to replace the batteries in these. You will have to buy new pads. I can order those and get them here though.
Okay.
You're all right with that?
So is that the one bad one you thought
Yeah,
was
this is
bad?
Reddit. That's why it's making a lot of.
But we
noise
think
over
it's
here.
okay now?
It's not okay now. It's
Okay.
beeping because it's not okay. So I will set this in here if you want it in here. That way it's out of there.
But the one upstairs is good.
The pads are expired.
The one downstairs.
Don't know. Haven't been there yet.
Okay, so that's the bad one.
Correct.
Okay.
So
Just take the batteries out of it because it's gonna squall.
it's gonna swallow if I take the batteries out even more.
Just throw it outside.
Okay.
All right, thanks,
You want me
Nick.
to take this with me?
You might as well, so I don't want somebody taking it.
I'm all over.
Okay. You'll need 30 then, and then I'll order the pads tomorrow.
All right, thank you. Sorry.
No, but I agree, Josh. I mean, I think in the future, that's something we need to look at, going to mini splits, because we're talking about something that holds a little bit less than 3 amps to cool and heat a place.
We'll just get rid of that big cooling tower.
It's just going to.
All right, well, I guess what's on the floor here, because we're still under a time restraint, because every month we roll around, we're,
I'm gonna throw
Paying
a
out.
little bit of a wrench into this.
oh, here we go.
Yeah, we do.
So, do we have an approved, like, plan, a structural engineer prepared plan? I know I missed some meetings, so
Yeah.
some of this is catching up. Okay, that plan has to get submitted to, the Indiana Department of Homeland Security before we make
That was my next
structural
question.
changes to a building. We cannot, and you cannot approve, anybody to start work or do anything until we do that. I think that there's an individual who's already made contact with the county representative, to start that process, but we're gonna have to submit the plan through IDHS.
Would that include the fire marshal?
Yes.
Well, they don't
That's
do it.
That's good.
I guess I'm gonna be a smart aleck, they don't do it for anything else, so.
This is structural issue. I mean,
Oh, I get
we
it.
have to.
I just got an argument with the whole place up there, so.
So how long are we talking here to get the permits? Yeah, I know it's a good question, but with something we need to ask.
Normally, for plans like that, it's substantial, like, you could get up to a 6-month timeframe.
That's, well, I'm gonna,
Again,
There has to be an
I-
emergency.
I'm gonna contact
I think we have I think it can be communicated that this is like an emergency situation, again, and I'm
I've got a
gonna address that
contact,
kind of
so.
issue in a second. And, second off, I know that, I think it was during the joint, session with council, there was a declaration by the commissioners that this qualified as kind of emergency situation in terms of,
Actually, the judge did that.
well, I think the judge issued an order
For his court.
pertaining to court services and things like that for his court specifically. I think I'm talking more in the context of public purchasing regulations and bidding out, public projects. So in some respects, we're not necessarily under the specific requirements that would normally be there, but, there's a couple of general rules. So you can't break up a, public work or public purchase into sections in order to avoid any of the specific requirements that would be required in a non-emergent situation. Second, when we ask people for quotes and or bids and things like that, they have to go out and like a specific letter, essentially request with a scope of work that's the same for everyone, and everyone knows what they're bidding on. I don't know that didn't happen in this.
First of all, let me stop you a second,
Took the engineering.
because we were told that in an emergency situation, that we do not have to go out and bid any kind of job for any of this project.
I agree with you. I'm just talking about like general.
Yeah, I
Okay.
get that.
But
I'm not saying specifically in this instance.
But-
However, I think when we're talking about, one of the reasons for that, okay, is what I'm gonna get to, which is that you don't want different contractors being able to know what
I get that.
each one is doing, right? So the emergency situation being an exception there to allow you to do something with a specific contractor in mind, or,
But you're technically the stickling
yeah, I just wanna
part of
remind
it.
everybody of those kind of, yeah.
Right.
that we need to stick to.
To answer your question, that did happen. Because we shared the drawings, and the drawings from the engineer spec'd out exactly how the job was gonna be done.
Oh, I'm not saying it did.
No,
What
I
you're-
know
but
that.
you-
I'm
but
not
what-
backing you up.
But I think what you're asking now is that we need to file something with Homeland
Well,
Security
that's
for,
yeah.
because we're not really
You need-
changing the design
you
of
need- yeah, you
anything.
need-
We're repairing
I think
something,
it's a design approval.
even for a repair,
If you're
because we're
gonna,
not changing the
if you're
design of
going,
the
if you're
building.
going to touch the structural,
And that's fine, I mean, I don't have a problem doing that.
I think it's a design release, I'm sorry.
I have two contacts actually, because I talk to them about every other day. But I'll reach out to one of them and say, who needs to send the design? I guess, maybe is it the engineer that needs to do that? Or would be
Well,
a
and that's-
contractor that does
So that's the
that?
other thing is, we need, depending on, I think normally it would be the contractor who would.
When we did it at the hospital for the coroner's room, the engineer did it.
Okay.
He got the architect, the architect or the engineer design.
I think what we
approval
probably need to do
from
is
that.
just make contact with the guy who's contacted the county, and I think that number, because that was just
Who's that?
recent. Ken Cole.
Cole, I
Yeah.
think Cole,
Would
C-O-L-E.
we just not
Who?
provide the
Cole, the
drawings
last
he
name was
with?
from the
Cole.
engineer to him?
Well, I think there's a
Is that, we
whole
just became
application
aware
process.
of this, just a second. What did I do with that? No.
I'm just trying to keep down the, I know.
Oh, I get
But
it.
it's just 5,000 a month.
So are you saying, Zach, are you saying that when that you're supposed to stick with, you can't break it up, it has to be one company?
I'm not saying you can't break it up, but you can't break it up with the intent to avoid, under normal circumstances, the requirements of the subsection. So you can't determine that the estimated cost of the job is $200,000 and then say, well, I'm gonna not bid this,
Like the jail.
or I'm going to break this into 3 separate jobs so that I do not have to bid this.
Yeah, to stay under the.
Oh, okay, yeah, I mean, we're not
I
talking
get
about
that.
that
Like
scenario.
building 2
here.
jails
I'm just
instead of
talking
one.
about-
Yeah.
When you start talking about breaking
They
down
got
job
away with that one.
components,
What is it?
my blood pressure starts to go up, plus, you know,
It's
Yeah.
50,000, right?
uh,
Anything-
50,000 is the threshold for, quoting.
Yeah.
150 is the threshold for, advertising for bids.
Yeah.
So does this mean we just kind of at a halt right now, or all we can do is hire a contractor? Or, I mean, it sounds like we can't really do anything to this building until we get the, we're kind of at a standstill.
Let me call our guys tomorrow, or 2 guys that I know, one of them's in, both of them are in
I don't,
Homeland Security.
again, this is some information that just came in today, you know, essentially, so we're
Okay.
Well, I have another concern, and I think we've talked about this a month ago, was have we done anything, I'm sorry, did I interrupt?
No.
Have we done anything to put these supports up on the first floor to keep the first floor safe? We talked about that it's in the minutes here, ARI, about the second floor. He could not tell us that the bottom floor was safe from collapse.
I thought he said that we didn't need to do anything.
No, that ain't what he told me. He said we could install some supports on the bottom floor to make it.
But then I thought he said, but we don't need to.
I didn't hear him say that.
That's what I heard, honestly.
I mean,
I don't know.
we don't know I'm gonna play devil's advocate, and I know you don't do that, but I mean, we don't know when this damage happened.
No.
I mean, it could have happened 20 years ago.
Yeah, I've been here, and it's been there for years.
So,
Well, my point of it is we know it now.
we do.
We may have not known it for 20 years, but we know it now. We got a whole bottom floor
So
worth of people that
anybody that would like, this is.
possibly could be at risk.
This was the contact.
So what I'm understanding is if we put any kind of support in that hallway will have to be blocked off.
I don't, what I heard him say, we can get a hold of the man again. But my understanding is, and it's in the minutes here, as an extra precaution, supports could be installed at the weaker point.
Well, Thomas was gonna line the jacks up and do that anyway.
Well, it can't do anything now because of Homeland Security apparently.
Right.
But, we need to have somebody to make sure our bottom floor is safe.
I'm gonna balk here. I mean, I'm gonna say that you're saying Homeland Security tells us we can't do anything. We can secure the building, and then we can contact them and say, here's our plan to fix it. So, we're not fixing anything by securing the floor. I mean, so.
We're making people safe downstairs.
I get that, but I mean, yeah, I agree. Like technically, we could go through there and we could, we might be waiting on this, but technically, we could go through there and we could put our jack system in, we could, secure the roof. And then have, proceed with, royalty, taking their end of it off, and then getting, word back from Homeland Security before we put the LVL in.
But,
Because we're not changing anything at that point.
At that point, no, all we're doing is holding things.
but what I'm saying is, we have to shut that hallway down. We can't have any public in that hallway at that point. They don't want anybody.
Thomas is putting in a wall right through there.
At the end, where the cameras are, they were gonna put up a wall, temporary wall, but.
But it's not blocking the hallway though.
I don't think they would want any public in, like.
That's why they're putting the wall there.
stand.
They're putting the wall there so that nobody can run into it or knock the jack over.
Well, all I wanna do is, if ARI think we need to do that, we need to have somebody secure that. That's all I want, just to,
Yeah, technically, we can do that.
Guess I'm gonna ask you, Zach, if at this
I
point,
agree
we're
with what you're saying.
not, we're not changing the
We can do
design.
that without going to Homeland Security.
Can we go in and stabilize the roof and say?
I wasn't the person that was contacted by Mr. Wolf, but
I'll call.
I believe his statement was basically a summary of the conversation, something to the effect of you can't touch any of the structural integrity of that one of us first.
I'll call them tomorrow.
Well,
That's funny how they
if we're
play
supporting
games with one
keeping
building
something
and
from
none with
falling,
the other.
That's not
So,
the structure integrity. We're just
well,
hoping the building
I
will
just,
fall.
it's one of them things probably never gonna happen, like you said, it hadn't happened in 20 years.
General authority.
But I've heard of Murphy's Law.
I get that.
And I don't wanna be the guy that did
I'll call
nothing.
this guy tomorrow and I'll call the two contacts I have, 'cause it's funny how this organization, allows other things to happen, and then all of a sudden, we're trying to stabilize a building that's 100-some years old, and now they're telling us we can't touch anything, so I'll call this guy tomorrow and I'll let everybody know what he said, because
Well, do me a favor, don't let me know, let him know.
I'm just
I mean,
about
just 'cause I want his approval.
Well,
I mean, I want you to tell me we're legal to go.
Well, I'm gonna come out and say if they will not.
I'm gonna tell you that the only thing holding you up right now is potentially this. So,
Yeah.
That's
if
fine.
you receive.
Well, let's go ahead and,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I'm gonna come out and say that if they will not let us put jacks in to support a roof, keep it from falling, then,
And we got a bigger
do I need to
problem.
finish the sentence?
We got a bigger problem.
Anyway, let's go ahead and, I'm gonna, since we're here, we have a bid, for
Yeah.
that part of the work that we're wanting to do. Can we proceed with, saying, hey, we're gonna accept this quote, and so they can start preparing for their end? And then we'll contact Homeland Security tomorrow, find out what their requirements are gonna be at that point, and if they want a design permit, then we reach out to our engineer and say, can you send a design permit to the state, so, to get the permit. So it's roughly the same thing we did at the coroner's room, and it took a month or two to
I think
get
under the
that.
circumstances, you could move to accept or move forward with one, or however you've structured
We just
the
want to
work contingent on,
permits.
approval by the Department of Homeland Security.
I want to throw another wrench into this, because if we don't accept this quote, they cannot order the LVL, and you're probably 2 weeks out from getting the LVL made.
I'll find out something tomorrow.
But even if we-
have to have another special meeting, I guess we'll have a special meeting.
Even if we accept this bid, they can't do anything till you
No.
get the
Well, they-
permit.
If we accept the bid, then they, I'm not misunderstood what you just asked.
Yeah.
But if we accept the bid, then they can go ahead and order the LVL to be made. But they have to know that we want the work done. Otherwise, we're gonna have to wait for Homeland Security to tell us we can hold up our roof. And then we have to have the LVL made, which would be an additional 2 weeks. All this time, we're clicking on buy on $5,000 additional a month for the court system.
Maybe we'll just get a variance.
And by the way,
Yeah, let's just get a variance.
by the way, I had some of the same luck you did. I talked to a couple people and they're all too busy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's,
I'll be
and I
honest
do
with you.
like the idea of keeping it local if we can.
If it wasn't illegal for me to do it, I'd still be too busy to do this.
All right, so you're saying we can accept it, the quote, we just, they can't
But
start the
nobody
work
can,
until.
nobody can, yeah,
Start the work.
can't start the work.
So we can-
I mean,
We're not gonna start the work until we find out from them.
Let me just
We
ask
just need to
you,
get the LVL ordered.
that's, I think at this point up to you guys, but it's, somebody's gonna have to give us a design release
I
before.
get
do you recommend we wait
Well.
legally?
I think that waiting has some benefits. I think that don't have anything to do with, you know, the legal requirements. I think you have the ability to move forward if you wanted to, and just, I don't know how long this design release will take, or whether they're gonna approve the exact specifications that were submitted by, and I don't know how that changes this scope of work. That's my only thing. I understand we're in an emergency situation.
Let me make a suggestion then. Let's table this
I agree.
and then let's, set a special meeting up out of this meeting right now, for, when's the quickest we can have one?
She was just putting a bug in my ear too. Could we just recess this meeting at the end and then just continue the meeting in a day or two after you reach out to IDHS? And then we wouldn't have to post another meeting and we could just, can we do
No.
that? No? Okay.
I don't even
Never
like
mind,
that.
Marty then. That was her.
I would, let's just do this, we'll table it, let's set a special meeting in within, what is it, 24 hours, 48 hours, whatever.
48 and
And so
Monday.
I'll reach out to, these people tomorrow and, I'll get everybody, I'll reply to you too and to Zach as well. And I'll reach out to the engineer as well, depending on what they tell us, but I'm assuming, because of the deal we had with the coroner's room, that it has to, it goes through the engineer to get the engineer drawing, so we'll see what their timetable, and I'll stress to them the urgency of what it is and see what happens, so.
Are you gonna contact them also?
Contact.
Homeland Security?
We're gonna give him my information, I think, is
Okay.
one of the
All
county's
right.
contacts.
All right.
He has specifically reached out to,
Is this the
an
same,
individual in the
same guy we deal with at the jail?
county.
That's not the
No,
people
I
I'm
don't.
talking to now.
Good, all right, thanks.
What time would you guys
I've never heard this guy's
be able
name,
to meet
so.
Monday? Can you, what time do you guys?
But it's just funny how they play.
Hey, check your calendar.
It's absolutely hilarious, so. All right, well, I guess we'll table this.
What time do you think you can meet?
What
Monday?
time?
I think I'm good Monday.
So I've got enough time to post it for any time Monday.
No,
No.
I'll be in Indianapolis already voting on the
Let's do it then.
delegates.
I think we're actually considering doing an executive session sometime in the morning.
On Monday.
On Monday?
Well, we can do it Tuesday.
Well, we can
I'm
meet.
good Tuesday.
You have a,
Tuesday
you're the
or
one
Wednesday?
setting that up. You got time?
No.
You guys are doing an executive, what time?
I just said,
Remember the
Some-
executive?
Yeah.
send dates for.
He hasn't set the
times
date
I'm
up
working
yet.
on.
So if you're, let's just say, you good at 9?
That'd be fine.
No, you.
I'd be good at 5 AM.
Well,
Okay,
I'll
yeah,
go
come on up.
I'll have to be.
let's do ours at 9 and Zach can work his around with
That's
the correct.
Now, we're talking Monday, right?
9 AM, Monday, June. 19th, 20th?
No, it's the 20th.
20th.
Then we're doing that at 9, and what was the other one?
That's it.
Well, we don't know
I
yet.
want the judges.
Okay,
We don't know that one.
all right.
And I will make those calls tomorrow. Moving along here, HWC contract for highway sign inventory. That's something Kevin said he couldn't be here for tonight, but
Yes, and I have Zach's got a copy of the contract. This is the standard contract with HWC for the grant that we get, for sign inventory. And they check all the signs, I guess, in the county, and they replace and, update or whatever the signs are supposed to do. And the council did appropriate Tuesday the match money that we need. They appropriated it for this grant. So, it's, Zach, like I say, he's got a copy of the contract, and here's the one, if you guys so moved, and you can pass that down, take a look at it. It's kind of big, a lot of pages, so. But it's HWC's consistently the vendor that's
it's just a renewal, isn't it?
pretty much,
And just for knowledge, it's about signs, right?
it's about sign inventory.
And I mean, when you say inventory, what's that mean?
They check the signs, the locations that we're supposed to have them. If there's missing signs, they replace them. They severely damaged ones,
Is
they,
this a contracted company through the state?
Yes.
We're just kind of piggybacking off the
We're-
state's program?
and then we get grant monies to take care of most of it, but we just have to do a small, like 10% match on it. So it's like 65,000, I think, is our match.
Yeah. That don't get us any new signs, that just tells
I
us,
think
It
they
does.
do.
Signs are
Yeah.
they do but it'll replace the signs that are no good or missing.
Right, right. Damaged, yeah, or missing.
And then we gotta do this by law or something?
Well, because you need signs.
I know,
need
$65,000,
signs,
we
right,
ought to
Zach?
be able to buy a heck of a lot of signs.
Here's your sign.
I mean, I know, we've done it before, I know we
Yeah,
have,
yeah,
but,
that's-
It's just a renewal.
it seems like every year I can't get signs up anywhere, but,
Yep,
Maybe
you're
they're
wanting new
waiting
ones.
on this.
yeah, I know it.
What's
And
your
this is, I
pleasure?
know this is nothing new.
What's your
Yeah.
pleasure? Entertain a motion to accept HWC's contract for the highway sign inventory.
And I'm gonna say one more thing, our attorney here, President, I assume this helps us liability wise too. We can verify that our signs are where they're supposed to be, and there's some legal ramifications here too, I think, if signs aren't up.
I would say so.
I would think so.
I don't know.
I mean, I,
But this is in conjunction with the NDOT, so.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
the form of the contract is.
It says here, construction inspection services for Scott County sign modernization project NDOT contract, so it's directly associated with NDOT, so.
but is it something, I don't know, I feel like I'm talking out of line here. But is it something we have to do?
I think you do.
That's why I'm asking.
I mean, we could, I guess, we could say we're gonna go out here and put our own signs up, but this is from what Kevin, I've alluded from Kevin in conversations before, is that it benefits us to go through the state project or program because we get our signs cheaper and they monitor them. So we're not going out there putting signs up, they're doing it, so. It says here, service furnished by the IPA, so,
I mean, it's effectively like a state grant agreement for the modernization.
Let me just say this, is this something we have to do this meeting? Can we put this off 2 weeks? I just wanna ask a question. It just seems like it's a lot of money for somebody to come up and put signs out that we probably already know need to be replaced.
I don't have any communication from Kevin regarding the necessity to do it now. I didn't see anything that made it.
we can table till the next meeting.
I just
We'll
like
talk
that.
to whoever, but we've done this every year since I've
And
been.
I know it, and, it's probably gonna do it again, but I'd like to get a little clear in my mind what we're doing here.
I think it's time, time-wise,
I don't see
we've got
any,
time, we're not rushed on it.
That's,
I don't see any date on here, so.
I know we don't have any money for signs right now, I know that. So we're kind of asking for that, I think.
I think this is something that, if I'm not mistaken, is in Kevin's budget, so it's budgeted every year.
And it's a grant that,
It's a state grant.
it's a
They're-
state grant.
yeah.
And the state
They're
pays for the
providing the
majority of
funds.
this.
So we're
I
not
think there's-
coming up with
I
65,000
think
for
there's
this.
a match.
There's a match portion.
Do we know what that is?
90/10.
It should be in.
It's probably in there. It's 90/10. We pay 10% and the state grant pays the other 90, so we'd be turning down a grant
So about
of
90,000
90%
or
funding
whatever.
for our
Or
sign
1,000 or
We don't
inventory.
have money for it.
That we don't want
You
to
think
have
it's a
to
good
spend
idea?
that kind of money.
I went to the council, they moved the money from 2004, or 24 to 23, I think, didn't they?
And, yeah, I thank you for
Mine was
reminding me.
right there.
What happened was this grant was not supposed to happen until 23. But the timeline moved it ahead so we can get our signs updated and fixed a year earlier.
Right.
So
We did
this
the
was
same
the
in Clark
advantage.
County.
We're gonna get what you want done a year ahead of what we would have gotten it done before.
So we're paying 10% of that amount.
10%,
10%.
right, and they're paying 90, and we can't afford to pass that up because
Well, okay,
we're
that-
getting a bargain,
I'm thanking you
Yeah.
for telling me that, because that's, when we first sit down here, I was like,
yeah,
that's a lot of money.
yeah.
For us, I'm not sure what we even get out of it. They don't call me up and say, hey, we put a sign up out in Boatman Road for you.
Mm-mm.
There
No,
was a
this,
selection process about 3 years ago,
Mhm.
where you all scored their proposal. I
Yeah.
don't know if we put in a proposal for it, but HWC was the highest scoring firm, so you selected them to inventory all the signs and
All right.
look at the reflectometry and make sure that
cause
I
they,
feel better
they,
now
check-
that
they,
I'm-
they keep that updated, right?
Run my
So
mouth.
we're, like you said, they're reflecting
Similar
like
to
they
the
should.
bridge, similar to
You
the
can't
bridge
vote if you don't.
Yeah, I feel bad if I do,
Same
yeah.
idea, but with
So-
signs. So,
So it's just kinda a little more far-reaching arm of the state that helps us
How much was
locally
that
get
total?
what we
Yeah,
need to
how
keep
much-
everybody safer with the
every county
signs.
does it.
Yes. This
Okay.
is-
It's not
All right.
unique.
So we're just gonna pay the 10%. The council's
Has
already,
already put the money in place.
they're already in place
Yes.
for it. Okay.
And you won't have to do this next year, cause this is all gonna start this year. They weren't gonna let this till next year, right?
Well, the fiscal year starts
July 1.
1st.
Yeah, with the
So
state.
2023 is July 1st.
Okay,
So they just moved the money for, you know.
moved
do
it
now.
forward, yeah,
Right.
All right, I'm okay now that
okay.
we realize there's just a 10% here. It makes a little more
It's
sense.
just a 10%.
All right.
So
I don't think the contract can exceed 65,803.60, so 10% of that is.
It's
6,000.
6,000.
Yeah, I can live with that.
So you wanna go back and revisit it, or you wanna,
If Zach says go for it, I'm ready to go.
Okay.
and I'll entertain a motion then.
I think he's, yeah, and I'll second him.
Randy made a motion to accept the signed contract with the
And then we
state,
need signatures, everybody.
and,
Pass that back down.
John seconded that, and I'll make that unanimous.
Receive your,
I'm sitting there looking, vote, you sign under it, don't you? Yeah.
think so. Thank you for adding that, that helps, thank you.
that's all the engineering is.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
And I'm sure, thank
Thanks,
you,
So
Bob.
see y'all next week.
I'm
See you,
sure
sir.
if Kevin had been here, he'd explained it, it would've been a lot simpler, but like you say, you
Oh,
gotta
yeah.
ask questions sometimes.
Well, it doesn't hurt to ask questions, and it's, I'm one that won't sign something unless, or vote on something unless I know what it is, so. All right, moving along here, consideration of the claims, and there's several claims here, I guess I'll read them off, and if we wanna do them all together. Line Shields LLC for $200. Tammy, you know what that is, right?
I do, and I'm gonna pass these claims down to you, and I'll explain. The Lion Shield has to do with training for community corrections, and the invoice is attached to this claim, so just, you can take a look and pass that down, John. Rather than make copies of everything, killing trees left and right. The next one is $11,550, and this was appropriated by council and approved by you guys for the design builders, Better by Design LLC for the highway building proposal. The salt and wash bay, salt storage and wash bay, building design, you said up to 12,000 and it's 11,550.
Okay.
Okay, and then this is for the clerk, she attended a conference this week, and there was registration dues, and we needed to get those out as soon as we could.
I'm good.
And that's all we've got.
All right. I'll
That was
entertain a
$40.
motion to accept those 3 claims.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
John makes a motion, Randy seconds that, and I'll make that unanimous. So I guess with that, we'll move on to the payroll ratification for June 3rd. So everybody had an opportunity to look at the payroll.
I'm good.
I'm good with it.
I'll entertain a motion to accept the payroll.
Motion made.
John makes a motion, Randy seconds that, and I'll make that unanimous. Moving along to the minutes. We're going to group these together. Minutes from the April 28th special meeting, May 4th regular meeting, May 12th executive meeting, May 18th regular meeting, May 23rd and May 25th special meetings. So everybody had a chance to see those minutes.
I know that was a lot late on you guys. I did the same with council, but I'm literally caught up at this point to June with you guys and council, so, and they just met yesterday, so I'm just thankful.
So has everybody had a chance to look at all the minutes and they're good with it?
I'll do it.
I'll entertain a motion to accept all those minutes.
Motion.
John made a motion to accept all the meeting, minutes. Randy?
I'll second that.
Randy seconds that, and I'll make that unanimous, so.
Thank you guys.
Moving on to the employee parking permit. I
And
saw a picture of that.
And it's not gonna be that big. Promise I won't be able to see around it.
It's bright.
It's bright. That's just something that, I had Lisa get from J&C Printing across the street to kind of give us an idea. Of course, the interlocal agreement says that's a public parking lot, so I told people that have questioned me about why do we need one of those, and I'm like, it's because we don't want you getting a ticket if you're in a, even though they're trying to get us to park over there, obviously. So more room is for business patrons, but if you don't want to be sitting there for more than 2 hours and then think you're not authorized to sit there for more than 2 hours, because it is all on the outside perimeter of the square. So I'm assuming that somebody that is parked there for more than, if you don't want to do ride sharing there and that kind of stuff, you could get a ticket. So there's just one example. Obviously, it doesn't have to be too fancy, but that would be the little placard that would hang on your rearview mirror and then be, I mean, the prices are on the email.
We're not gonna do stickers on the hood.
I don't think so. I'm not real much for bumper stickers unless you guys really want.
Well, nice thing about
I can
these,
build a hood.
Oh.
nice thing about these,
Let's
you
get
can
the
move,
magnetic.
you can move from vehicle to
Yes,
vehicle if you need.
yes. And if,
Kind of
and
like a handicap. in there.
the prices didn't seem too out of line for me to get those. I mean, because we could replace them fairly easily, order a few extra and, you know, have extra stock. 'Cause
So
we
how
know we do-
many cars do you think we have?
From, in this location, the county-wide, depending on we have around 225 employees between full and part-time positions. Of course, obviously, a lot of them are remote, a lot of them have their own parking areas. I would say here that we'd need, you know, probably about 100 of those just to have, and that way, as employees change out, they may not bring it back, that type of thing. We could keep stock on it, and that way, and we don't care in our office to help you disseminate them and keep track of them. When people get employed, we can put a parking placard right in their orientation packet.
So you're talking 125 probably?
Yeah, we probably order that quantity.
So
there.
the money would come out of,
We can figure out, I mean, I may have some even in my,
We can take it out.
out of general fund and somewhere.
we take it out of our commissioners.
And there's gonna
fund,
be
too.
Yeah, kind of ongoing and people need to.
Yeah, so if you guys are okay
I'm
with that,
fine
it's
with it.
simple, but
Did you design that yourself?
no, not really. Actually, I pulled the seal and gave it to her, but that doesn't really look that bad. Lisa helped me.
No, she did good.
She did, didn't she?
She did good. I'm for
People
it.
will lose them.
Yeah, Randy makes a good point for, you know, $60 more, we
Just to have a
we
good
can get
inventory.
250 of them and just
That
have
sounds
them
good.
in case somebody loses them or.
It ain't gonna break the bank. I think it's a good idea.
Well, I mean, you know, kids are going to have them and play with them and
So just order the 250? That
I'll
sounds like a
entertain a
savings.
motion to accept the design and I guess the color's all right. I mean, I think that's a little.
You guys can pick, you want,
Right.
we could change it up, we could do whatever, we could do white with that on it, we can do
or fuchsia.
fuchsia, pink.
You know, I think that looks pretty good just the way it is.
It would show, I mean, it's gonna show, but we can do a fluorescent green or whatever.
I think whatever.
The back row okay with this?
Can you see that?
So anyway, I'll entertain a motion to accept the design and the 250 purchase, so. John?
I'll
John
make a
made
motion.
Randy seconds, I'll make that
Look,
unanimous,
who's
so.
gonna make a motion? Yeah, I'm good with it.
Anyway,
And by the way, while we're on that, I wanna commend our employees too, because there's an awful lot of people have been, or we really started talking about this, filling it up over there.
Yeah.
I mean, there's
I will
probably
say
some more
that.
still could, but, and I know the letter went out, all good responses, no responses.
Nobody, no
I haven't heard a
negatives.
word, and
well,
I
I
think,
mean, I know it's not been raining, so, I mean,
Yeah.
we'll get a snow day or a rain day, we'll see
Yeah,
who
that's right.
complains then.
Yeah.
yeah.
Anyway,
And you know, we have,
On my truck, because I
Tam-
didn't have time to take it off, and I wondered where I was gonna park.
Tammy mentioned to me too that, you know, we may have a county employee or two that may have a handicap and they will have to park over this side for they, but it wouldn't hurt for them to have one of them in their vehicle
they need
too.
to, but I actually talked to the mayor about adding additional handicap spaces on this side, and he's more than happy to accommodate us, so.
We need it.
As long as we get all those other people off the square, I'm
She's
sure.
the ADA person, right?
Yeah, I'm supposed to be.
Well, she doesn't need a parking permit over here. so.
You sure?
It gives me privileges, doesn't it?
Anyway, attorney.
Thank you, John.
So
And I'll leave them on you.
For something.
first, I think at the last meeting, we discussed a potential agreement for
Go ahead, I'm doing something else.
the use of the parking lot at 1101 South Main Street for the farmer's market.
Mhm.
This is just a proposed agreement, and I'd just like your all's authority to go ahead and send that to Mr. Wakeman with the farmer's market. And do you need a copy of this?
Oh, I can turn it off. Yeah, thank you, thank you.
This basically just permits, usage on Saturdays from 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. Use for patrons, vendors, members of the public, and just not exclusive. In exchange, the farmer's market would agree to stripe the designated parking lot area at their own expense. It is, for right now, a 6-month contract, but I think the idea would be to renew it on a yearly basis going forward, but that's kind of where we're at, so, but just wanted you all to have an opportunity to look at it before it goes to them. I'm not asking you to approve for signatures or anything like that, just kind of consensus of.
I'm not sure 6 months will do it. They start in April. I know the end of October, and maybe even November.
You can certainly change the terms.
Yeah, I just.
That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, I get it, I just don't think, that's 7 months if you just go to October.
Well, they sell pumpkins and Christmas trees and stuff.
I'm just thinking we make it 8 months, then we're covered.
Marty has one.
They started mid-May this year. They go to the very end of September,
Okay,
and that's it.
I thought we had some events after that.
We have one event afterwards, but that is a museum-sponsored event. That doesn't involve the farmer's
Okay.
market at all.
All right,
So they won't be.
So actually, I mean, this one runs from July 1st, just because I don't think we will have, a meeting to approve until that time. And I don't know that the farmer's market has, I think they operate kind of under like a DBA, basically just doing business as. So I'm just waiting on the point of contact there to approve the kind of language, make sure that it's okay with them. And that they meet some of the specifications that we've required in these agreements in the past.
all right.
Could we just go ahead and make it for a year. That way, if there's something special they wanna do, they're covered.
You could certainly approve it for a year. I guess it would just make the timeframes a little weird because it would run from July 1st to July 1st. You'd be right in the middle of their normal season, I guess.
Oh, I see what you, right, okay.
Yeah.
This would
Just kind of, we
finish,
got started late on this.
Right.
this would finish this year out.
Finish this year out, the idea being would, you all would renew.
Next year, just to the whole, okay.
Earlier.
Good idea there.
You know, I've
That's why you
talked,
make the big bucks.
I've talked to everybody about this, I think but Kevin, I don't know if
Oh,
I'm sure he doesn't care, but, you know.
It's only for a specific day for specific times. Again, it's non-exclusive. I mean, we're not saying that.
Yes, sir.
I think it's just more in terms of like a dedication essentially for their use and allowing them to be there without, fear of getting killed or something like that.
Yeah, and the way you've got this written, it's good all the way to December 1st.
Yeah. I figured there's no reason to not permit that. I mean, I don't know that maybe they don't have anything scheduled, but
Magic.
I assume that they wouldn't as you get into the winter months, but
Once again, you've done a good job.
Andrews,
I'm for it.
Andrews has to put a new passport down. So I asked him to opt in and log in.
I'll vote for Mike to sign that.
I second that.
All right, John,
I'm actually not asking you to sign that yet. I would be bringing it back for signatures at the next
Okay.
meeting. I want it to get approved by,
I take it back.
Then-
Mike, don't sign it.
yeah, I'm sorry.
No, I'm against it.
I mean, you could approve it, I guess. That would let us kind of move
Okay, I'm for
forward.
it.
It's kind
are you for it or are you?
Whatever we need to do.
of, what's your preference? I just wasn't necessarily asking for it, but if you want to go ahead and
If you want to
approve
make
it
the
under
changes,
these,
yeah.
I'm all for it.
Let's just go ahead and approve it.
Go
John
for
made
it.
a motion to accept the agreement with the farmers, Scott County Farmers Market. There's gonna be some date changes and, with it, but we're gonna go ahead and approve it and, so that it can move forward without.
And we won't
And actually, did you make a motion to amend the agenda to,
Vote on
was
it.
it on there? The farm-
Yeah, I think.
And by the way, yeah,
No,
'cause
it
we don't
was
have
not
another meeting
specific.
before July 1st or whatever that
Okay.
is.
Motion to amend the agenda.
Yeah, okay.
I'm gonna entertain a motion to amend the agenda to accept this agreement with the, Scott County Farmers Market. So,
I'll make that motion.
John makes
Amend-
that motion to
Yeah.
amend, Randy.
And as much as I like to just talk something just absolutely to death, I'm gonna go ahead with this time and
Me.
second that motion.
Randy seconds that and I'll make it unanimous. Now,
Now we can.
we've amended the, agenda to accept this agreement with the Scott County Farmers Market, so.
There was a discussion of a stop sign at an intersection. This is the proposed ordinance, but there were some impossibilities when it comes to timing for notices to get signatures for this meeting. So what we're doing is we're gonna do publications for the next meeting. That will be the first reading of the ordinance, and you can approve on second and third at a meeting after that, or I believe there's an exception. If everybody's in agreement, you can pass it as a
First
single
time.
meeting. Gotta be unanimous, but that is the proposed language, so if everyone take a look at it, just to,
And that is on the agenda.
it's consistent with the ordinances going back for.
So I'm assuming that second motion was John again, Randy a second,
Well,
and you
we-
unanimous.
It's
Yes.
specifically,
Yes.
I realized that there was discussion about trying to get it done this meeting, but.
You talking
it's
about
my-
stop sign?
Yeah, it's my fault, but when I looked at the provisions for ordinances that impose fees or forfeitures, there's some additional requirements for like length of time that you have to wait.
Okay, so since you're gonna bring us a new one of these, so we don't sign this one tonight? This is the agreement with the farmer's market.
I think you just.
It just says for him to sign
I
it.
think you just approved it.
Well, we didn't
approve
vote
it.
on
You
it.
said you were going to
I'm
change.
gonna No, I'm just gonna send it to,
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, so we'll sign it.
All right.
John had me confused because he was for it and then he
Lord, I was
against it,
confused.
then he was for it again.
I was confused.
On the stop sign issue with Slab Road, I want to make a point on something. If you go down Bogardus Road, every intersection has a stop sign. Well, every four-way intersection has a stop sign. Slab Road
That's another one of your
has
papers.
none. So that's why this is being brought up. And I don't know that we shouldn't be adding Marshfield to this too, and just follow suit, because Slab Road's right across from Bogart's. I mean, just. And although, you know, it's strange that Marshfield doesn't have that many accidents as what Cutshall and Slab does, which just amazes me. But when there is an accident, and John, I know you know this, but when there is an accident at Marshfield and Slab, it's bad usually.
Yeah, no, done the other in Marshfield, the ones I had, honestly, it was always because of tall grass. We,
Marshfield,
yeah,
yeah,
no, but,
they
yeah.
keep that mowed.
There was low
I'll wait
visibility.
till they're down to.
Yeah, the owner's always kept that mowed here lately. But
Yeah.
Now it's going.
Well, I'm talking years ago when I
Yeah.
was over there,
All right, John,
so, but
I don't know that we should be putting one at.
we'll do them one at a time. I mean, one at a time anyway. You look at them, I've got one or two myself I've thought about.
Go ahead.
I'm okay with this one.
So that will just go out,
At our next meeting, we need to bring it up.
it will be on the meeting it will be on the agenda for the next meeting.
Okay. What else you got?
Finally, we had some discussion regarding the purchasing ordinance, or ordinances. It turns out there's 3 separate ones. They have to do with, I mean, most of the language is gonna remain the same, but I think there's some changes in terms of what the statute required back in 1998 in terms of thresholds. So back then it was, let's see, 25 to 100, or it was 25 to 100, and then purchases over 100,000, so now it's 50, 150 to 150, and then more than 150. So just bringing that up to date with the code. But I think what you guys were mainly discussing involved like procedures for small purchases, for the purchasing agents who buy your ordinance would be like department heads, essentially, who are making small purchases. There's really not much under the current ordinance dealing with that, other than it just lays at the discretion of the purchasing agent. Purchasing supplies, estimated cost of less than $25,000. It specifically instructs purchasing those without inviting or receiving quotes. So I think in some respects, I think that the statute would allow us to be a little more restrictive, meaning I think you all could set a threshold amount at which you want certain steps to be followed for the department head who's coming in to request some type of purchase. So if there was something that they had particular in mind, or you had in mind about the threshold that you want, I think generally I don't necessarily know if it's beneficial to get too deep into like this purchase of supplies necessarily, but just generally what you want them to do when we're talking about what the statute considers small purchases is now actually going to be under $50,000. So still, I think you could set a different threshold at which, if you're above 25 but less than 50, this is what we want you to do, or if you're above 20, less than 50, we want you to be able to, show us that you've done the due diligence to do some type of competitive, assessment of what the best price for the county is going to be, and be able to document it. So I think it'd just be easier for everybody who's coming in to follow those rules, if they were outlined, but, I would kind of suggest not getting too deep into the purchase of supplies necessary for continuing operation, like paper and those things, but.
Yeah, but things, items purchased out of what I will call the capital outlay section in our ledger, that may help you then on the claims approving side, because then you'll recall that at the last meeting or two, they were here and asked to buy a copier that's $5,000. And they did their due diligence, and then, oh, you'll go, yes, that's good.
More than $50,000, okay? In general, there's different requirements, so 50 to 150, you have to do the quotes piece. More than 150, do the sealed bids section. For purchases under 50, the code says the purchasing agency for the local authority or governing body, it might use governing body, can adopt rules and policies for their purchasing agents. You have certain designated purchasing agents, which in the past have always been department heads, elected officials. There was a highway superintendent or engineer, and maintenance and chief custodian, and other county employees that would be designated from time to time, but obviously circuit court and superior court judges as well. So these were rules that you can set up for those individuals, in particular when it comes to submitting claims for less than $50,000. You cannot deviate from the statutory requirements under the purchases of more than 50. Or if you did deviate, you have to be able to demonstrate that you're actually requiring even more restrictive measures than what the statute would require. But in this instance, the statute specifically provides for you all to adopt some policies. And so I would suggest sending me some suggested, I guess, procedures that you want to see or what you want to see, and I'll try and develop the procedures to meet your all's expectations.
I didn't have any real problem. My concern was always the invoices weren't, you couldn't read the invoice and tell what they were really buying sometimes.
And that may be part of your small purchase requirement.
That's
You
kind
have
of what I'm saying.
itemized
So if you
invoices.
have, I mean, that can be, there's currently not really much guidance other than left at the discretion of the purchasing agent, right? So
Yeah.
I think in the past, purchasing agent feels like I can go do X, Y, or Z, but this board wants to see a little more work plus a little more legible documentation, so.
That's exactly.
More than likely, the business person bought it understand it's perfectly, but when it gets to us, it's like, what is this?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and a lot of it is Josh and the maintenance, is that he's got a big array of things. Where's the purchase being made at, for what department, and what is it? I
Well,
mean,
it's like, at home, if we have somebody come to our house and perform work, they give us a ticket or, a bill, and it's usually itemized and showing you exactly what, here, you can go up to $25,000 and you're gonna get a note that says 4 tires, Scott Kane tire.
So you could set the threshold
I mean,
at what
which is
statute
made up.
uses, right?
Yeah.
Just say less than 50, I want you to be able to, you're our designated purchasing agent, but in order to get the claim approved, we want you to be able to submit.
Yeah.
clarification.
Yeah.
I think that's all we're
I
asking.
think,
Yeah.
yeah, that's exactly. I mean, I'm not wanting to limit anybody. I mean, I wanna know what we're buying. And-
Yeah, and if
and you know,
maybe we couldn't stop at that time, but or maybe we could.
well, you can
And,
stop the claim, but.
Yeah, at least for the,
Yeah.
Well, we're
Well,
being
and
asked,
I think it's more in the respects of certainly the ordinance, you're just kind of designating somebody to do things essentially on the county's behalf. There's some things they can't bind the county to certain things without your all's approval, but, I'm just talking about it facilitating you all getting the information that you want from the people
Yeah.
that you've designated to make the purchases. I think it could be clearer to them if we're just able to hand them this and say, look, here are your specifications, you know? Or I'll use rules, because specifications is a different type of request, but here's what you have to do.
I agree.
And, you know, if you don't do it, there's no guarantee that you're gonna get the result you want here, which is probably approval of the purchase.
And I like it too, because I like consistency, and I
Yeah.
like for it to be applied every time, at all times,
Yeah,
unless
to
there's
each
a exception
requirement,
made
sure.
for a really extenuating circumstance. So this gives them guidelines, and that way, it gives you guys a talking point too, if something's missed or you're not, you know,
Well,
and then you
also-
can speak about it.
Well, also, one of the things I get confused on looking at claims is that I don't know if we're repairing the same thing over and over and over and over. Is it the same unit we're repairing over and over and over? At the point, do we need to replace it instead of keep repairing it? Or what are we, you know, what are we doing? I mean,
There's
because
warranty work involved.
you never know what you're paying for. I mean, so I just want to, you know, this day and age, I just like clarity.
It's a
So,
verification.
yeah, so, that all you got?
That's all I had on the purchasing ordinance, and then
Exactly.
abandoned vehicle ordinance, working on it, but
I will say, I had my meeting with my 5 other commissioners, and they had the exact same thing we're talking about, that, just like you said, you walk out, they got more than so many vehicles, you tag them,
yeah,
and 5 days, they haven't done anything, they tow them, and Clark County does the same,
I mean,
exact
and
same
you
thing.
have that, I don't wanna misrepresent
No,
your
you're
prior
right, we
attorney
just don't,
has
I think
put
John's
together
thing is,
Yeah,
I think John's thing is how do you enforce it, so.
Yeah, it is. That was the whole issue with me is because, and you answered, I think, the way I want it. First of all, somebody got a ticket would be the sheriff,
yes,
and then it's gonna go through county court.
yes.
Okay. In the past, it was always like, it just went to the lawyer's office.
Well, I mean, ordinance violations are prosecuted civilly in the county courthouse. I do the ordinance violation cases, so
So you'd be taken to county court.
pretty much.
Okay, that's what I need to know.
Okay.
And I use the term prosecute.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
All right, is that it? You think?
That's all I have.
When will you let us know about your executive on Monday?
I hope within the next, I mean, we'll have to get it out.
Okay. John, you got anything?
Privately with him in a minute.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you, actually, Tammy, I would suggest, because they're gonna do 9, I would suggest we go ahead and do a notice for, because we're right up to the timeline. Would you guys be okay with a 10 or 10:30?
We're gonna be very short on ours, so if
Want to do
we're
10?
at 9,
If you're
10
9,
be
you
fine.
Do 10, and we have to, retract the request for the executive session.
We can
do that
always
at a later
cancel
date.
it.
Yeah.
So, and at 10
Just,
o'clock?
just due to scheduling if something comes up.
I would like, and I kind of harped on this, I know you guys get tired of hearing me, but I would like to get with RAI, I suppose it'd be them, and make sure whatever we gotta do to make, in my mind, feel that room over there safe.
Okay. Randy,
So
you
we
got-
need something from, I suppose,
Well-
he talked about a beam putting it up somewhere, I didn't understand it all that, but some kind of a beam to shore it up, to keep the, up there safe.
That's
Yeah.
the jacks.
Whatever it is, I wanna get that done.
Randy, you got anything else?
No, I'm ready.
All right, I'm gonna play something here. Since yesterday is Flag Day, some of you guys, older guys may have heard this before.
I have done
This is
I know exactly who this is.
kind of an interesting thing.
I
here.
remember a teacher that I had. Now, I went through the 7th grade. I went to the 7th grade. I left home when I was 10 years old because I was hungry. I used to, this is true. I'd work in the summer, I'd go to school in the winter. But I had this one teacher who was the principal of the Harrison School in Vincennes, Indiana. To me, this was the greatest teacher, a real sage of my time, anyhow. He had such wisdom. And we were all reciting the Pledge of Allegiance one day. And he walked over, this little teacher, Mr. Laswell was his name. Mr. Laswell was his, He says, I've been listening to you boys and girls recite the Pledge of Allegiance all semester, and it seems as though it's becoming monotonous to you. If I may I recite it and try to explain to you the meaning of each word. I, me, an individual, a committee of one, pledge. Dedicate all of my worldly goods to give without self-pity. Allegiance, my love and my devotion. To the flag, our standard, O glory. A symbol of freedom. Wherever she waves, there's respect. Because your loyalty has given her a dignity that shouts, freedom is everybody's job. United. That means that we have all come together. States, individual communities that have united into 48 great states. 48 individual communities with pride and dignity and purpose. All divided with imaginary boundaries, yet united to a common purpose. And that's love for country. And to the republic. A state in which sovereign power is invested in representatives chosen by the people to govern. And government is the people. And it's from the people to the leaders, not from the leaders to the people, for which it stands. One nation, meaning so blessed by God, indivisible, incapable of being divided, with liberty, which is freedom, the right of power to live one's own life without threats, fear, or some sort of retaliation. And justice, the principle or qualities of dealing fairly with others. For all. Which means, boys and girls, it's as much your country as it is mine. And now, boys and girls, let me hear you recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Since I was a small boy, 2 states have been added to our country, and 2 words have been added to the Pledge of Allegiance, under God. Wouldn't it be a pity if someone said that is a prayer, and that would be eliminated from schools too?
Good idea, Mike.
Well, I'll play that every year. That's,
Thank you.
that's just something I've always thought was pretty neat.
I gave a speech one time and used that, yeah, good. If you ever want to, I'll wait after the meeting, go ahead.
It wasn't Red Skelton from Vincennes?
Yes, he is actually a graduate
Actually,
from
you go to
Vincennes
Vincennes.
University. And they have a
That's where I
museum
was going.
dedicated to him, as well as there's a Performing Arts Center on Vincennes campus that is completely dedicated to him, that students get to play every year. Actually, that exact speech is played during their Veterans Day program for the Pledge of Allegiance section. And the reason I know that is because I was one of the 15 band members that represented Vincennes University to play and sat on the stage while that was going on. So that's how come I know that.
The museum's awesome.
I've seen the outside of it myself.
Well, you go in, it's got Clem Cadiddle Hopper's outfit and,
Yeah.
and Sheriff Deadeye, and they're all in there, all the
I was
stuff.
always forced to watch it as a kid, so.
And they even have like his footprint and
Yeah.
handprint from when he was like
I think his home is open too.
Yes,
You can visit.
the home where he's born is right across from where the Performing Arts Center is. And it was dedicated not too long ago. There's actually a sign that says Red Skeleton's birthplace, like right close to campus. It's just literally a parking lot away.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Being Flag Day yesterday, I'm just a day away or a day off of it, but I thought that was
Good idea.
appropriate. And so, we will, before we meet again, just for everybody, the Scott County Fair will happen before we meet again. So we'll be meeting on Fair Week, cause it starts, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think
July 3rd, isn't
actually, no, I'm wrong.
July
it? We meet on the
6th is
1st.
our next meeting.
We meet on the 6th, which it starts on the
Okay.
4th,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
So we will be here
Wednesday
during the fair,
night.
and might be the day we met. Well, do we wanna move it?
Yes.
I think we
I
ought to,
think so.
now that I say that.
Either that or somebody's gotta bring some elephant ears.
Yeah.
Elephant. So do we wanna move it to the 13th? Or do you wanna move it to a different day? If we move to the 13th, we'll be meeting again on the 20th, so so do you wanna move it to like a Monday or something
The
different?
council meets on the 12th. I mean, this may be a little offline here, but could we do it on the 11th? Because sometimes they need us to make decisions.
I'm fine, I just don't wanna do it during Fair Week. so.
Yeah, me too.
I think everybody's busy and it's a busy week, so.
I'd rather do it on Monday.
Want to do it on the 11th, Randy, at 5?
Sure.
Okay,
So
let's
July-
move that
Yeah.
to July 11th.
At 5, okay.
All right,
Did you
well,
get that, Marty?
I never thought about that until I
And
looked at it
I'll
again,
send
so.
the July 6th
Glad you
meeting,
did.
July 11th at 5, they do the fair.
We have to have an emergency.
Thank you.
Could-
Yeah, but anyway, all right, if nobody's got anything else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Wait a minute.
Go ahead.
Let me talk. No, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All right, John makes a motion, Randy?
I second that.
Randy seconds it. Zach, what do you say?
I get a vote.
I'll make that unanimous.